بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي الشيخ هشام بن عبد الرحمن الخليفة محافظ محافظة العاصمة راعي الحفل، سعادة الدكتور إبراهيم جناحي الرئيس التنفيذي لصندوق العمل تمكين الشريك الاستراتيجي للحدث، أصحاب السعادة، ضيوفنا الكرام، يطيب لنا في مساء هذا اليوم أن نشكركم لحضوركم حفل إطلاق فعاليات أسبوع المنامة لريادة الأعمال في نسخته الرابعة، والذي يهدف إلى دعم قطاع ريادة الأعمال في مملكة البحرين وتمكين فئة الشباب في مختلف المجالات. Your Excellency, Sheikh Hisham bin Abd al-Rahman al-Khalifa, Governor of the Capital Governorate, the patron of our event. Your Excellency, Dr. Ibrahim Hamad Janahi, Chief Executive Officer of Temkeen, our strategic partner. Your Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished guests of the Kingdom of Bahrain, it is with great pleasure that we welcome you today and thank you for attending the opening ceremony of MANAMA Entrepreneurship Week in its 4th edition. The initiative aims to promote sustainable development and social entrepreneurship and to foster an environment highly conducive to entrepreneurship and innovation in order to achieve continual development, sustainability and economic prosperity. والآن يتفضل معالي الشيخ هشام بن عبد الرحمن الخليفة راعي الحفل بإلقاء كلمته ومن ثم تكريم الرعاة والداعمين والمتحدثين، فليتفضل مشكورا. Now we welcome to the stage His Excellency Sheikh Hisham bin Abd al-Rahman al-Khalifa, the patron of our event, to stage his few words as well as honor the guests, the speakers, as well as our sponsors.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, it's a pleasure to welcome you here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. And it's please you will find a copy of my speech, which will be in Arabic for our non-Arabic speaking guests, on your table. أصحاب السعادة والسيدات والسادة الحضور الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إننا سعداء اليوم بحضوركم ومشاركتكم لنا في حفل إطلاق فعاليات أسبوع المنامة في نسخته الرابعة، والذي أضحى موعدا سنويا هاما في رزانة المهتمين في ريادة الأعمال، بفضل ما يزخر به الحدث من محاضرات ولقاءات وورش عمل مميزة، ويقدمها كوكبة من الخبراء وأصحاب المشاريع الناجحة بمختلف تصانيفها، وتسليط الضوء على أبرز الفرص الواعدة والمنتظرة، وتوجيه رواد الأعمال الشباب وفق رؤية متبصرة ومدروسة واستراتيجية آنية وبعيدة المدى. وبهذه المناسبة يسرني أن أرحب بالضيوف الكرام متمنيا لهم طيب الإقامة في مملكة البحرين وفي العاصمة المنامة. الحضور الكرام، نسعى من خلال مواصلة تنظيم هذا الحدث في محافظة العاصمة إلى تعزيز ثقافة ريادة الأعمال في أوساط الشباب البحريني، وتحفيزهم في المضي قدما نحو تأسيس مشاريعهم الخاصة، ومن خلال إرشادهم إلى المسار الصحيح لبدء تلك المشاريع، وإطلاق العنان لابتكاراتهم وإبداعاتهم وإلهامهم عبر استعراض العديد من التجارب المحلية والعالمية الناجحة، والتي كان الابتكار والإبداع عنوانا لها. وهذا ما أولت القيادة الرشيدة اهتماما خاصا بالشباب، حيث خصصت العديد من البرامج والمشاريع التي تهدف إلى الارتقاء بقدراتهم وتمكينهم، وعملت على توفير البيئة الحاضنة لرواد الأعمال الشباب ومساعدتهم على بدء مشاريعهم الصغيرة والنهوض بها لتعزيز نمو هذا القطاع، بما يعود بالنفع على اقتصادنا الوطني في ظل التحديات الراهنة، بما يتسق مع أهداف وخطط الدولة لتنويع مواردها ودعم التنمية المستدامة لاقتصادنا الوطني في إطار رؤية مملكة البحرين 2030. واليوم نفخر بأن مملكة البحرين تزخر بصماتهم في خارطة النجاح. لم تعقهم الصعوبات ولم توقفهم العثرات، وثقوا بما يمتلكون من قدرات وإمكانات ليشكلوا نموذجا وطنيا نعتز ونفتخر به. وأنتم اليوم بحضوركم ومشاركتكم فعاليات هذا الحدث تؤكدون رغبتكم في تغيير مسار حياتكم والانخراط في مجال ريادة الأعمال باعتبارها مستقبل الأوطان. واقتبس لكم مقولة للمدير التنفيذي لشركة تسلا إيلون ماسك: إذا كنت تحاول إنشاء شركة فهذا يشبه إعداد كعكة، يجب أن يكون لديك جميع المكونات بنسبها الصحيحة. أما نصيحتي للمشاركين: عليكم بالعمل في مجال تعشقونه، هذا سيجعلكم أكثر سعادة وإبداع في ريادة الأعمال. الحضور الكرام، يشهد أسبوع المنامة ريادة الأعمال في نسخته الرابعة 15 ورشة وجلسة نقاشية متخصصة يقدمها أكثر من 30 متحدث من عدة دول، وهي مملكة البحرين والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية واستراليا وهونغ كونغ وألمانيا وفرنسا وتركيا، حيث استلهمنا محاور الحدث لهذا العام من رؤية صاحب السمو الملك الأمير سلمان بن حمد آل خليفة ولي العهد نائب القائد الأعلى النائب الأول رئيس مجلس الوزراء نحو الانتقال إلى الاقتصاد الرقمي، إذ أعطتنا كلمات سموه بأننا سنعمل على مواصلة تسخير التكنولوجيا الداعمة لريادة الأعمال وتشجيع الابتكار والمزيد من تنوع الاقتصاد. الحافز لمواكبة محور حدثنا هذا، مع ذا توجه الدولة نحو التحول من اقتصاد المعرفي إلى الرقمي، لذا ستتطرق ورش الجلسات الفعاليات إلى مستجدات قطاع ريادة الأعمال مثل التكنولوجيا المالية، بلوك تشين، ومستقبل الأعمال وتبدلات الأسواق والابتكار، بما سيسمح للمشاركين الاطلاع على تجارب متنوعة وأفكار خلاقة تتناسب مع مختلف مجالات ريادات الأعمال وتتوائم مع توجهات الدولة. وفي الختام أود أن أعرب لكم عن اعتزازي بحضوركم ومشاركتكم في هذا اللقاء الطموح والمبدع، كما أتوجه بالشكر والتقدير لجميع الرعاة والداعمين، وأخص بالذكر صندوق العمل تمكين الشريك الاستراتيجي لهذا الحدث والبنك الأهلي المتحد وكافة الشركاء الداعمين، وإلى جميع المتحدثين، وخالص الامتنان لممثلي وسائل الإعلام لتفضلهم بتغطية مضامين هذا اللقاء. ولا أنسى الجهات المشرفة على التنظيم وفرق العمل الذين أخرجوا لقائنا بهذا الشكل الطيب والمميز. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا معالي الشيخ هشام bin Abdurrahman Al Khalifa, the patron of our event, and I invite Your Excellency to honor the partners of the event as well as the speakers who have ensured that this event is always of great success. We'll start with the strategic partner, Temkeen. The associate partner, United Nations Development Programme, UNDP Bahrain. Our diamond sponsor, Ahli United Bank, AUB. Diamond sponsor, Ahli United Bank. Gold sponsors, AMFA Holding. AMFA Holdings not in. I'm for holding. Badr Group. Badr Group. Al-Kohiji Jewelry. And Applied Science University. Our silver sponsors: Bahrain Middle East Bank, the Capital Club, and wafiapps.com. So wafiapps.com. تفضلي. Our supporting partners: Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, I'll read the names a bit faster so that we can catch up with time. Bahrain Chambers of Commerce and Industry, BCCI, Bahrain Chamber, Ahmed. The Embassy of the United States of America, Bahrain. Your Excellency. The Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany, Bahrain. Excellency. American Chamber of Commerce. تفضل. The University of Bahrain. Bahrain SMEs Society. C5 Accelerate. حياك. MANAMA Hub of the Global Shapers Community. Those who inspire. Is MANAMA Hub here? No, so it's those who inspire? Definitely. Sabre. Isaka Bahrain Chapter. And finally, the supporting partners category, Antoine Media. Saber, Fatin. And now with the community partner category, Startup Bahrain. Media partners, get ready, you're next. Al-Ayyam newspaper and Al-Watan newspapers. Al-Ayyam newspaper. موجود الأيام? Yes. Al-Watan. The social media partners, Social Media Club. Okay, let's go for the speakers, and we'll save one towards the last. So, speakers, may I please get ready to come and take your moment of glory on stage. Let's start with our first speaker for tonight, Lilian Gil Valletta. Christian Treichel. Melda Akin. Melda's here. Christian Saba. Fawaz Shukrallah. Isaac Rashad. هياك. هادية فتح الله. فريد بدر. كوين كيو اس طونغ. حنان جناحي. محمد أيوب. سوسن بلوش. بشارة بشارة. حياك. حسين خليل. حياك بعلي. محمد عبد العال. حامد فخرو. دلفين بارتس. لنا العطار. علي سبكار. هشام أبو الفتح. مجوهرات الكوهجي تفضل. And not to forget the person who is running around the stage, making sure everything happens, the organizer of MANAMA Entrepreneurship Week, Crayo. نور الحداد. نشكر معالي المحافظ على تكريمه الرعاة والمساهمين والمتحدثين، ونبدأ الله يسلمك الآن أعمال المؤتمر. It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, to start our first session of tonight's program, which is quite inspiring, as I saw quite a great deal of preparation going on in the room before I walked in. It is under the theme, Activating Your Power of Cultural Intelligence. Activating Your Power of Cultural Intelligence. Taking action to turn your cultural advantage and trends into a spark for innovation and entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, it is of great honor that we have with us in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and to also welcome to the stage Lily Galvaletta, co-founder and CEO, CEIN Plus and Cultural Intel, creator of Dreamers Ventures.
Lily Gil Valletta. Lily Gil Valletta.
Liliana Gil Valletta.
Lily Gil Valletta.
Oh, Lily Gil Valletta.
My company is a business consulting and big data analytics firm, and we work with big Fortune 500 companies that want to successfully reach minorities as a growth market.
What drove me was the shifting demographics of this country. If we are quickly becoming a majority minority nation, we have the advantage, economic advantage of diversity.
I quickly realized there was power in understanding that trend.
It's a case of the brown elephant, big and obvious, sitting in the middle of the room.
That immigration is being used as a political piñata.
You're letting partisan and political bias get in the way of good decision making. I realized the power that we had. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things we just ignore or don't think about as immigrants, is the fact that we are a powerful bunch.
Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for having me here. I would like to start by thanking all of you for just taking the time to be here, particularly Your Excellency Sheikh Hisham bin Abdulrahman Al Khalifa, Ambassador Justin Siverel for welcoming me here, and every one of you that I know have already, in my first 24 hours in Bahrain, have made it feel like home. And I am so honored and grateful for being here. So with that, I am hoping that I can share with you a little bit about my story and how it can translate, hopefully, into your own entrepreneurial journey. So as you heard in the introduction, I am originally from Colombia. And one fun fact, which actually kind of warms my heart, you may not know, but I grew up in a town called Barranca Bermeja. And Barranca Bermeja looks like this. The largest oil refinery in the Americas is there, and I grew up inside that oil compound. So I guess I probably share, like some of you, the fact that at the age of 8, I already knew what a distillation tower was, with 2 parents that were engineers. But then in the early 90s, you know, when Colombia was going through a difficult time, I ended up at the age of 17 in the great state of Texas with a suitcase, a student visa, a pocket translator, and not speaking a word of English. So talk about trying to embrace the American dream. And I don't know how much some of that is true. And it was a little bit of a culture shock for me. And I never thought that that experience when I came into Texas was going to shape all the way into today of who I am as an entrepreneur and how the role of culture, cultural understanding or misunderstanding can be an energizing, powerful differentiator for growth. Because guess what? I speak Spanish. That's my native language. And when I was in Texas and I speak Spanish, guess what? I am supposed to be Mexican. I don't know. And I was confused. Why? I'm from Colombia. And I would be so proud in saying, I'm from Colombia. And of course, I got Pablo Escobar. Because of course, if you're from Colombia, you must be that. I'm sure many of you can relate to the fact that people misinterpret or define who you are because they think they know, but they really don't. And I would be so confused. I'm like, why am I getting Pablo? I mean, there's Colombian coffee, right? Everybody knows Colombian coffee. I never got Colombian coffee as a thing that would relate to who I was. And I joke around now, I say that the younger Colombians that go all over the world, I actually heard today from Your Excellency, you have a Colombian community in Bahrain. Maybe I need to meet them next time. Well, now they can call on Shakira. I didn't have Shakira back in the day. Or good soccer, right? That's also fun. But here's the funny thing with culture and the media. Thanks to my friends from Netflix, I'm explaining myself all over again as a Colombian to the world. Because they think Narcos is now. That was 30 years ago. We have gone a long way from that. So as I'm sharing all of this with you, you must maybe puzzle, okay, Lily's telling us her fun Colombian immigrant story. How does that apply? Well, it applies because that entire journey, I could have taken 2 routes. When somebody misunderstands you because of who you are and you're supposed to be, you can either get really mad about it and crawl into your own corner and do nothing about it, or actually turn it into an opportunity to educate. And not educate just to patronize the other individual, but to actually elevate both parties, and in my case, even turn it into an entire business. It's a cultural advantage. And I quickly realized there was power in culture, and there's some things, headphones or the best technology. No, they're not. And I say this respectfully, if Dr. Dre was sitting here in front of me, they were not. Bose and Sony and all the experts in the sound business knew that the levels were off, but they bought cultural equity in what it represented in society, and that gave it a higher valuation when it came to that transaction with Apple. There's other fun facts in America. This may be a fun fact you may not know, but tortillas, Mexican tortillas, actually sell more in supermarkets than bread. Now, is that because only all Mexicans in America are buying tortillas? No, everybody is. It was a cultural movement, in this case through food, that has penetrated the mainstream. And I started watching these things. There's things like Despacito. I gotta tell you, today we went to a great restaurant for lunch and Pitbull was playing. I was excited about that. Music has also the power to penetrate and unite cultures. And then all of this made me the great realization that there must be a cultural gap. But when you and I, or us, recognize that the interpretation of the world that you have may be an advantage versus that other person you may have in front of you, like I said, you can take 2 routes. But in many cases, when you turn it into a lever for making you unique and different, it can be an advantage. But not just an advantage in the human sense of things. I'm talking cultural equity and value as it happened to Beats when it went through its transaction. But we tend to have a really funny and interesting relationship with culture. And I realized that in my corporate career. I spent 10 years as an executive at Johnson & Johnson. I moved around, had global marketing jobs. At some point, I think I was one of the youngest executives. It was a little bit scary, traveling all over the world. But it took somebody like me to be in a boardroom and actually ask the question, do we understand the shifting demographics of our market? What do you mean, Lily? Well, it means, and this is a dynamic that is happening in the States, 100% of the population growth is actually coming from multicultural or diverse segments. That is that portion at the top, which means the rest is shrinking. Now, you don't have to have a PhD in economics or be a super savvy investor to know that the basics of business is all about future-proofing yourself for a trend that maybe others don't recognize yet, but you can, and you jump on first before them. So in my case, when I was in my corporate job, asking the question in the boardroom, I said, wait a second, are we being inclusive of all consumer markets as we are planning our big launches and our big product innovations? After all, in the US, at least the community that I could feel affinity with, right, my cultural connection, was to a market that is valued at $1.8 trillion in buying power in the US. This is US Hispanics, Latinos in the US. Yet, corporations on average are spending maybe less than 1% to reach this segment. So it felt like a contradiction. Now, I'm telling you that because it's almost like a country within a country, but it took the courage to bring it up in the boardroom. And I am wondering, when was the last time that you applied your own cultural advantage or something that maybe you were thinking at home, but somehow when you walk through those doors of your office or your university or your corporate job, we forget that maybe we have a unique bicultural, bilingual advantage or our understanding of the market that needs to be brought up. Because in this case, in America, it is mathematically impossible to grow without tapping the growth markets. That's pretty basic math. But you'll be surprised some people are missing out on it. Now, I've only been here for barely 24 hours, and I'm thinking about Bahrain. I'm looking at the map. I see how you are at the epicenter of so much of a region full of opportunities. Now, do you really understand or fully maximize what that means culturally for you, for the country, and for the region and business at large? Sometimes it's easy to feel comfortable with our own, but in this case, I turn myself into a bridge in a corporate environment, and I can see already, again, with the information I've been collecting in the last 24 hours, that you are primed for serving as that bridge of cultural intelligence. A new market reality calls for a new approach and a new mindset. And I had this big aha moment. Now, it was like 8 years ago when I said, you know what? We've been schooled in our business school or MBA school about this notion of great leaders have IQ and EQ, and you gotta have both. Well, if there's one thing you take away from this chat today is the fact that there is a third thing to add that we often leave dormant, and it's cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence is the ability to be aware of, understand, and apply cultural competence into everyday business. You interpret and see the world as a whole. And because of your unique cultural advantage, you understand things that others may not. And by the way, that is a business thing. And that has become our message with my company and everything that we do. Because culture, even though it feels warm and fuzzy, and we celebrate our food, and we celebrate our music, and things like that, our holidays, it really is understanding that there is value. And when I say value, there's like monetary equity, but when you are the one that is more intelligent than others in the room, understanding what gets to the minds and hearts of people. So I don't care what sector you're in, it's very likely you're dealing with humans on the other end. It doesn't matter what sector you're in. So this notion of diversity, confession time here, I have a love-hate relationship with the D word, as I call it now, because let's be honest, in today's world where we hear about news and tension and opinions and all kinds of tugs of this and that, I want us to graduate. This is an entrepreneurship week. We heard in the opening, this is about how do we advance the Global Sustainable Development Goals, but I want you to take this away too, especially those of you that are in the world of social enterprise, which, by the way, I also kind of have a love-hate relationship with that, because I believe any business today should be in the business of making an impact and leaving a legacy no matter what. You don't have to be an NGO. So inclusion is a business advantage, not an altruistic mission. And there are human economics behind it. So here's what's happened to me in sharing again a little bit about my journey and why, as a crazy person to my parents, I quit my very vibrant corporate job. Because there is an opportunity to turn cultural trends into profits. But we need to change the mindset of thinking that diversity and this inclusion thing is just a feel-good thing. It is a business thing when you get it right. So this Lily entrepreneur that brought up this topic in the room turned entrepreneur. And today, this is the world that I live in. Driving inclusive business strategies with some of the world's most prominent companies. So I'm working with Google, with Pepsi, with big corporations. But at the same time, that is still kind of like fuzzy and warm and marketing-ish. So now we've added technology to it. What if we can power cultural decisions and intelligence with artificial intelligence and data so that I can achieve that together? Have the information so we're making decisions based on the voice of the people. And not to bore you with the technicalities, so what our technology does is exactly that. Every open digital discussion can be turned into insights without ever having to do a survey ever again. That is helping health equity and understanding why women that are suffering breast cancer are not getting proper treatment, getting published with Harvard. I've been a lot in the American news saying the data that maybe people didn't want to hear about the current social issues in our country. And also reporting on the SDGs, because we talk in these big, important rooms about how we need to change the world. Well, how does the world out there feel about the stuff that they need so that we can impact them? There is the power of technology on all of that. So again, you may be thinking, okay, how do I apply that for me? Interesting story, right? I am calling on Spider-Man. Yes, I am. There's a very interesting phrase in this movie that says that with great power comes great responsibility. And this is another one of those slides that, if you remember anything out of my time here with you, is this. You, the people of Bahrain, the entrepreneurs that are entrepreneurial in mindset that are sitting here today, already have a cultural intelligence advantage that is greater than most people outside of these walls. For many reasons. We can chat about it afterwards, but I believe just the fact that you're here makes it unique for you already. But that superpower means nothing unless we apply it, and in this case, to the world of business. Mind shifting from the fact that I can understand cultures, I'm really good with people, and I can be a bridge in the region or amongst countries, etc. Let's apply it for business. So that is the great opportunity that I want you all to realize, that unless you do that, you're giving up on the superpower, and you're giving up not on ROI, but that's return on ignored. On ignoring that extra added value that you can have into the formula for success. So let's dare to future-proof your businesses. Let's think about it. How is my unique cultural intelligence and the data and understanding what people truly need going to prepare me for this fourth industrial revolution that people seem to be so scared about? This is a chart that comes from some of the work that the World Economic Forum is doing. We hear about it and we get all excited. You know, cyber this and AI that and tech. Well, I'm going to burst your bubble because a lot of the young people ask me, Lily, what do I need to study? What's the career of the future? Because, you know, STEM is so in. And yes, it is. I'm not diminishing that. However, when you look at this chart, which is a little bit of an eye chart, when you look at the careers in the future, the skills needed to really be prepared for the future, there's things like emotional intelligence that show up that wasn't even in the list before. Creativity and critical thinking go up. One could argue that those are all traits of being culturally intelligent. So it is not more developers that we need, but more developers that are able to humanize the code that they're writing. That's the point of it. Being ready for the fourth revolution calls for a mindset revolution. And that mindset revolution needs to establish this. And I'm in the world of tech, and I say this respectfully. And it's hard for me because I am like the daughter of 2 engineers, but I'm not an engineer myself. Now I'm catching up with programs and postgraduate work. But it's not about the tech. It's not about the code. But it's about the humans that need it. And I had to be a little bit playful and funny. Why not? Let's make tech human again. Don't forget that, right? Ambassador, I hope it's okay. Let's make it human again. AI, yes. Guess what? I work with AI right now. AI is not going to do what it needs to do unless a human trains it. If it's trained with bias, if it's trained improperly, it's going to be bad AI. Machine learning is a machine that is learning. Who's teaching the machine? We are. That's why we need more diverse perspectives at that place of coding. That's why we need female perspectives and all to bring that to life. So let's recap then. Cultural intelligence, this new superpower that I just told you you had, is the ability to be, anyone remember, aware of, understand, and apply cultural competence into everyday business. Many of us are aware. You read a newspaper, you kind of watch the news, okay, things are happening, maybe I understand them a little bit better. Then you understand it, okay, there's numbers, but applying it is what makes a difference. And inclusion, please remember this notion of inclusion. We're talking about let's include the youth, let's include women, that's not just to feel good. Inclusion is a competitive advantage, is a business advantage and not an altruistic mission. So for those of you that are doing impact work, if you're not measuring the ROI of that impact, it's going to continue to feel really good, but it's going to be really hard to tie it into the verticals or the industries or the sources of funding that you're going to need to keep it going. Speak in terms of human economics, because I bet you we sit down and talk about anything that has impact, it can be quantified either in a cost avoidance or ROI model, but we need to change the way we talk about these things. Because ultimately, you can turn cultural trends into profits. I am incredibly blessed to be able to be doing this with my company and our teams all over the world, impacting different people, and I hope you are inspired to do the same. So here's homework for you, only 3 things to remember, just to wrap it up. Be deliberate and intentional about turning culture into a business advantage. Not just to celebrate each other and feel good with each other, but to be that bridge. And you know that you are, geographically, even just with a competitive advantage that you are blessed with. Are we looking at that? Know your power in numbers, because opinion, everybody has one. Numbers are really, really hard to argue. That's why I often say, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. So there you go. If you are not powered by data and whatever it is you're pitching, selling, presenting, investing in, there's something wrong with that picture. And at the end of the day also, it's about building alliances and taking action. You are all under the same roof. I know that there is incredible amount of influence and big ideas and innovation and investment, etc., under this roof. You gotta be intentional about it so that collectively you can get into the great business of delivering wonderful profits but leaving a legacy, because at the end of the day, that's all we take when we leave this world. So let's strive for achieving purposeful profits and realizing that everyone has this great gift of cultural intelligence that you can activate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily Gil-Valletta, the co-founder and CEO, CEIN Plus and Cultural Intel, creator of Dreamers Ventures. Thank you very much for that inspiring words about activating your power of cultural intelligence. Our next panel, ladies and gentlemen, starts literally 4 minutes later than what it should have started in, so it's a great achievement to catch up about 25 minutes of late time. It's a panel, and it's regarding doing business in the new millennia. Doing business in the new millennia. May I please welcome to the stage the moderator of this session, Lana Al-Attar, serial social tech entrepreneur and founder of Good Juju.
working? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Am I audible? Hope I am. I'd like to welcome you to our panel titled Doing Business in the New Millennia. My name is Lana Latar. I'll be your moderator. Can I have my speakers come and join me on the stage as I call them out? Today we have Christiane Sabah, who is an international expert in the field of socio-economic development and employment solutions. She is also an advocate for women and youth empowerment. We have Fawaz, oh my God. We have Fawaz Shakrallah, who is the head of IT at the Bahrain Institute of Political Development. He is also the founder of BTech Blockchain Group. We have Isaac Rachet, who is the managing director of Global Access Partner, and he is also the co-founder of Repra Build. And we have Christian Trechel, who is an international business expert and the project manager at Berlin Partner for Business and Technology. Thank you. Okay. I think I will be joining you. It makes more sense, right? Okay, awesome. No, I'm good. I can sit at the end. All right, exciting time. So we're going to start with Isaac. Hi. Could you explain the concept of circular economy and what the opportunities in the space and the terms of like environment, businesses, job opportunities?
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure. So today I'm going to speak about circular economy. Most people do not know what a circular economy is. And as I speak further, you'll understand more. I'll give examples. So we live in a linear economy. What is a linear economy? You manufacture a product, you use the product, and then you dispose of it. You throw it away. In a circular economy, you manufacture the product, you use it, but you use it for a long time. You refurbish it, you repair it, you maintain it, you recycle it, and then you upcycle it. So I hope I didn't confuse you guys. Recycle and then upcycle. Upcycle means you take the old product and you turn it into a better product. Therefore, it decreases waste and pollution, and it increases global competition and resource efficiency. Currently, 9% of the world is circular. Now, as far as the jobs and the economy, this industry, it's very difficult because a lot of the businesses, they want to implement it into their business model, but they don't know how. So in January of this year in Davos, the largest corporations in the world signed an agreement where they're going to help the businesses understand how to implement this into their model. Currently, there is approximately 3 million people in the European Union employed in the circular economy. But they're mostly in the waste and recycling, repair and maintenance, leasing and renting. In July 2019, the European Union and China signed a memorandum of understanding to work together in cooperation for the circular economy. Now, if Europe moves fully into the circular economy, it could add approximately 9 trillion euros into their GDP by 2030. Now, environment. So, again, the environment, climate change and all this is a big concern. The example I like to use is plastic. I don't know if you are aware, but there is 8 million tons of plastic being dumped into the ocean. That's 1 garbage truck per minute. They say if this continues by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean by weight than fish. Think about that. And it's causing a lot of health issues. It's killing marine animal life in the ocean, and for us as humans, it's causing problems for our health because the fish are eating the plastic and we're eating the fish, and also in the water. So, Adidas, the sneaker company, as you know, multi-billion-dollar company, they started collecting the waste and transforming it into sneakers. So I'm talking about all this stuff, right? What am I doing? What are my friends and I doing? What are my partners and I doing? So we started a company called RepliBuild. I am the co-founder. And what we're doing is we're collecting ocean waste, plastic. We're converting it into alternative construction material to build affordable housing, starting in the small island developing states. It's a new company. It's in the infancy stage. We just launched it a few months ago. I have not even gone out for funding yet. It's very exciting. We're planning to build the first factory in the United States. We're planning to build about 7 factories throughout the world. And God willing, inshallah, Bahrain will be one of the locations, a hub. We bring in the plastic from nearby. Hopefully we can sort it here and start this project over here, more of a foreign direct investment. So basically, we're cleaning the environment, we're getting rid of the plastic, we're creating jobs, and we're getting a return on our investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That was quite insightful, and I never knew all of those numbers. My next question is to Fawaz. Fawaz, what current technology options for fintech and startups could you advise for them to start their new ventures? And are there any trends that we need to look out for?
Okay, how much time do I have?
About 5 minutes. If we want to allow the audience to ask questions, there will be a question and answer round for the audience.
Okay. Basically, when you look at the trends where we are today, the most influential startups like founders of Facebook, founders of Instagram, all of them, when they started out, they had zero experience in their industry, right? Mark Zuckerberg, the only skill he had was programming when he started Facebook. And now today he's the CEO of the world's largest social media company. Kevin Systrom of Instagram, he wasn't even a photographer. He never even worked for a camera company. But then him and his co-founders started Instagram. Snapchat founders, same thing. Which means one thing, a lot of the people here, normally you would say someone who has 10 years experience in the industry, he would be able to launch such a successful startup, but that's no longer the case as we know today. Which means anyone who has an idea for a vision or a product, and he can combine it with the right technologies, he can launch that product into a valuable service or an attractive value proposition for the market. So when you look at different technologies like blockchain, like AI, all of which present some new opportunities for any of you to be able to combine those technologies with a different vision for a service or a product, which will enable you to launch it into a successful business, like many others have seen. And we've seen a lot of Temkeen funding those options with different ICT funding programs. AWS now just came to Bahrain, which enables you to do more with less cost as well. So technology trends, how you can leverage those. AI, artificial intelligence, presents a lot of applications. One of them is called predictive modeling. Like, I can give you one example. If you want to launch an app or a service, I can say you want to predict what will be the real estate prices in Bahrain in the commercial property in 2020, for example. You can do that with an AI application with 75 to 80% accuracy in using predictive modeling in AI. The same thing, blockchain technology, what we can see now coming up today, one major example is counterfeit goods. By next year, you'll be able to go and buy any luxury product, let's say if it's a handbag or designer label or Rolex watch, you'll be able to scan the QR code on that watch and it will confirm to you, from the mobile app of Rolex, for example, it will confirm to you this is an original product manufactured by by Rolex, and it's an authentic and original product. The same thing for car parts. We're going to start seeing some of those applications coming on next year or the next 2 years. These are the kinds of opportunities that blockchain and AI are presenting in the world today. So options to start, you have AWS. It has a lot of different variety of applications and technology stacks which you can use. Either if you are a developer, if you're not a developer, you can combine those skills with an actual developer who can help you leverage those technologies. Microsoft Azure is also a very famous platform now. It's catching up very closely to AWS. And to add more to that, I think it was mentioned 2 weeks ago that Temkeen launched an ICT funding option with any entrepreneur who wants to be able to leverage AWS infrastructure services costs. You can leverage Temkeen's program to fund that technology option for you, which makes it almost zero cost for you to start. All you need is an idea and to test it out to see the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christiane, you're next. Could you tell us a little bit about the field of psychometrics and how it can help create income in today's society?
Hi, Lana. Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, what is psychometrics, in case someone doesn't know what psychometrics is? It's a science that measures the capabilities, psychological aspects, traits, characteristics of individuals to see if they're capable of going into a field or it helps both the market, the private sector, and it helps employees. Because how many times have you seen a resume that says, for example, I'm skilled, I can work under pressure, I love this, I love communication, and it's, none of it is actually true. So when you do a psychometric assessment, how you help the private sector is, first of all, you are allowing people to go into jobs and opportunities that they would thrive in. So, and individuals themselves would be happier rather than waiting till Friday and dreading that Monday is coming up. They're actually doing something where they can thrive. For example, if you're an introvert and I allow you to go into a field where you have to talk to a lot of people, that would make you depressed. And if you're an extrovert and I allow you to stay, to be in a field where you're behind the desk all the time, you're not going to be happy and you're not going to actually give the company 100%. You're going to be giving 20% and just waiting for it to be 5 p.m. so you can leave. So a psychometric assessment identifies a person's capabilities and whether, let's say, where they would actually thrive, basically. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. We were actually talking about this a little bit earlier, and you had also mentioned that it's because of this mismatch that a lot of entrepreneurs start coming up because...
Yes, exactly. Entrepreneurs would rather not work in a field where they're not happy. So they rather do their own thing, do something that they're happy about, they're passionate about, because they're not happy in their jobs. Whereas if they were in an employment opportunity where they're actually happy and in an environment, they wouldn't actually consider entrepreneurship to begin with, because they're actually giving 200% and they're able to thrive and reach their full potential.
Thank you. Another interesting topic that I wanted to ask you about, how do market assessments help individuals in creating businesses or finding work, especially in such a competitive environment?
So market assessments for any product or for any service you want to sell, you have to do a proper feasibility study. And it's the foundation for your product or your service. If you don't have a feasibility study, you're taking a huge risk. So it's basically like a risk management service in a way or another. When you do a market assessment, you see whether the needs of the market, let's say you want to have a product and you want to sell this product in the market, you see the strengths of your product, the weaknesses, where it would actually be favorable and where it wouldn't. Let's say, for example, if there's an area that's in Bahrain that only uses iPhones, why would you open a store that fixes, for example, a Huawei? So you do a feasibility study. You see what are the what item would thrive in which area, so that you can sell the product or the service.
Thank you. And last but not the least, Christian Tritchell. We've heard about your amazing work to encourage startups in the region to start opening shop in Berlin. Could you tell us a little bit about those opportunities and any advice you might give us, the Bahraini startups, and how we can do business in Berlin?
Yeah, Lana, thank you. Especially, I'm thankful for getting this invitation and the possibility to speak here. I'm one of the very limited numbers of born Berliners who actually live in Berlin, and I can tell you that there is a huge thing going on in that city, which was divided for so long time. We are facing a change in nearly every field of daily life. It's the change of disadvantages in advantages. It's the change of our society somehow, and it's even the change of business. And after the reunification of Germany, we were facing a tremendous move from people from all over the world, mainly creative young people who wanted to test their capabilities and who wanted to deliver input into this process of freedom which took place in our city. And it was a bit like a big chance in history. We had lost thousands of industrial working places and production facilities were empty. And it might have been a bit illegal, but these young creative people occupied these buildings and they started to work or to live and to bring things together in a different way. And that was the starting point of a sort of a nuclear bomb. So more and more creative potential came together, and once the explosion started, we couldn't control it anymore. And today we are playing in the Premier League with cities like London, like Paris, like New York even. And the idea is now that we can change even the strategy for economic development. So I'm working for the Economic Development Corporation of the city of Berlin, and we changed our strategy. We are no longer competing with others, we are cooperating. And this sort of cooperation mainly focuses on startups, because startups need to scale up their business. If they want to be successful, they have to test foreign markets. And why not supporting them by even expanding their business abroad? That's the basic idea. And we formed a partnership with actually 9 other cities. New York is among them, Vienna is among them, Paris, and even London. And what I brought as a sort of thank you for this invitation is we would like to invite 2 startups from Bahrain to test Germany or Berlin as their future location within one of our next programs. So it would be beside the cost for flight, full covered by our partnership. And your last question was, give me a tip.
Yeah.
How should I do it? The best idea actually I can give you is join or attend the meeting we will have tomorrow at the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I will go into more details then what's going on in regard of startups in Berlin. Maybe one figure to make a bit more appetite. Last year, Berlin-based startups raised more than 70% of the venture capital raised by German startups in general, and this was amounting of more than 3 billion euros. So we are not talking about peanuts, we are definitely talking about playing in the Premier League. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, audience, I open the floor to you to ask questions to our panelists. In the interest of trying to catch up for time that's been lost, let's have one question each. We'll start with Christian, and we'll move along this way. Is there a mic to go around? Hisham, mic to go around to the audience for questions? I guess. Okay. May I borrow your mic? Thank you. And does he have... Okay. They've got one. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zaid Hassan, and I have a question about the blockchain technology. Does it have any related in Bitcoin?
That question would have to go to someone.
Yeah, and definitely go to Fawaz. Fawaz, would you like to answer that question?
Okay, so cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is a type of an application on the blockchain. Other types of applications on blockchain is smart contracts. Another type is called record registration. So it's like saying, an example, email is a type of an application on the internet, and World Wide Web is a type of an application on the internet. So you can do a lot more with the blockchain with different applications than only cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in this case.
Thank you. All right, can we have another question to Someone other than Boaz? We're going to try and get one per speaker.
Yes, good evening. My name is Ali. I am from founder of a company in energy efficiency and renewable energy called Tershid. My question is for EDB, for Ms. Saba. I want to know what is, there is any strategy plan for EDB rather than fintech? You have other areas that you want to focus on, or it's just in fintech? And if there is any strategy that we can all the public can see it and have a look at it. Thank you.
Can you?
I think I need to explain EDB. EDB is our Economic Development Board, and they have a focus in fintech recently and also communities. So I think what his question is that Bahrain's been taking a strategy towards technology and fintech. In your experience for market analysis, what do you think Bahrain could leverage? Yeah? Yes. Growing market trends other than fintech and technology globally.
Well, you've got artificial intelligence, of course. That's as far as what I understood.
It doesn't have to be tech related.
No, but it is. The things, if you're asking about the future trends, everything that can save people time that people own. They think it's oil, they think it's money. No, if you can save people time, you've got them there. So what saves people time? Fintech? What saves people time? Is it artificial intelligence? And also at the same time, the more personal you make your items, the more of a personal experience you have with people when they feel that they can interact and they feel that they relate to you. Whatever item or service you want to sell, and in any field whatsoever, if you can save people time, make it feel personal for them, you've got half of it already done, basically.
Thank you. Can we get a question for, okay. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Kai Mietig. I'm a project manager and architect and as well a waste management specialist. And I have a question for Mr. Isaac. We are dealing since several years with the kind of growing waste worldwide, and I appreciate your idea to use recycled material or upcycled material for construction. My question is from your side, what is the idea from your side to enhance the knowledge of the purity of the material? Because we know, as human beings, we will mixing the material. And there will be a big problem to segregate. I mean, waste is everywhere in the world, in each culture. So we actually try to implement lately in a conference the artificial intelligence and machine learning already in the production process of any kind of product, which means you know already when you buy a material or buy let's say a bottle of milk, you know already it contains 5 grams of PEP. This kind of strategy will allow to resource and to evaluate already the material which you have later on in the market to produce maybe your kind of material for the construction. So what is your idea about implementing artificial intelligence in the waste management strategies?
To be very honest with you, we have a patent pending technology. So I know the answer, but I cannot disclose the answer. The same way McDonald's has the secret for the Big Mac, and Coca-Cola has the secret for the Coke, the soda, I cannot unfortunately disclose that, but I can tell you ours is very simple and practical. We're in the infancy stage, okay? It was another formula that I had tested. We have a proof of concept. So we've advanced that. We've upgraded that. We're in the process of R&D with one university we signed, and when I get back to the United States, we're going to sign with another university. I'm hopeful that it's going to work, and you got to forgive me, I cannot disclose that information for what I know. I'm not an AI specialist, so I cannot elaborate further on that. But once we have everything running...
startups in Berlin or his expertise, speak now or forever hold your
I'm interested in opening something in Berlin or something. I'm always interested in opening a business abroad. But when it travels to Germany and countries across, like around surrounding neighbors, I've never been to Berlin though, but I saw that all the neighborhoods have the same exact supermarkets and exact same stores, exact same restaurants. So that makes me think, like, how would an entrepreneur survive the markets in Berlin?
Well, I would say that this is a global trend, and this is not a specific European situation. I guess there is enough place, even among these supermarkets or these big sales machines, for young entrepreneurs to find their own ways. And think about delivery services, for example, that goes directly in what Christina said. It's a question of your personal time. You want to save time. That's one of the big issues. We are actually facing even a change in the real estate market, for example. We are all aware about co-working, but we are now talking about co-living. That's the next step. And there will almost be one next step ahead if it is with blockchain technologies. Nobody really understands how that goes, but everybody is talking about that. And well, I can give you a clear answer on your question.
Okay, so I have one last question that I'm going to ask. You have a question? Okay.
This question came up to me actually last week. If, let's say, for example, a startup in Bahrain are established and they want to, it's an insurance sector, and they want to be able to launch operations in Berlin, what would be the criteria for them that they have to fulfill in order to do that? It's based on technology startup.
There is at least no real legal hindrance for that. It depends a little bit now, at the end of, if you will, even send people from Bahrain to work in that entity. There could be legal necessities like working permit or residence permit. In this case, we can assist you. If the process is started in the right way, we can deliver every documents which are necessary within 3-4 working days. So that's a relative quick one. If you want to implement a legal entity like a limited liability company, that could be done within 1 day if you are willing to do that and using the right notary for that. The normal way would take 3 to 4 weeks, but you can speed up if you like that.
You don't have to be a European citizen to do it?
Sorry?
Do you not have to be a European citizen to do it?
No, it's not necessary.
All right. You can send him the invoice and the bill. Okay, so this is my last question, and you need to bear with me. In a futuristic vision, in your own perspective fields, 10 years from now, what exciting advancements would you expect to see come to life in your field? Like, what is that futuristic vision? We can start with Christian, since you're closest.
To make it short, the next 10 years, I will retire.
I mean in your field.
I think the body can look into the future in detail, but I deeply believe cooperation is the driving element. It's not no longer competition, and who is willing to cooperate will at least win the game. That's what I deeply believe.
Thank you. And Isaac?
Like I said, I have the two companies. One is for foreign direct investment, and the other new one is the Replibuild, the co-founder for turning the plastics into building material. I would say turning waste into resource. There's a saying that there's gold in your garbage. So yeah, turning waste into resource. That's what I would like to see, helping the environment.
Fantastic. Boaz?
I think when you look at the current trends where we are today, when you look at successful startups from the region, like, for example, Talabat, you look at Carriage, you look at Kareem, and then now I think there's a lot of deep aspiration for people to look at those and have them to be like their role models. So I think it generates a lot of ideas, especially in the youth, the new generations and the graduates from university. and they'll be able to start to leverage new technologies with new ideas and combine them into an attractive value proposition for the market. I was in GITEX last week, and there was a new initiative launched in GITEX. It's called GITEX Future Stars. It was specifically focused, three main halls, specifically focused on startups from the whole region. And there were awards given to a startup based in Saudi Arabia and based in the UAE. And there were a lot of competitions and awards given for startup to use new technologies or new innovative ways to deliver the same service that we have today. And when you see the whole fintech feel and how it's opening up with different technologies that can actually leverage those new technologies into an actual value proposition for the public.
Christian?
I completely agree with Fawaz. Yes, it's all about pretty much, if you, as you said before, Kareem, Uber, things are becoming, with the rise also of artificial intelligence, everything is, I would actually have to summarize all of our visions and all of our ideas into one thing, that it's all about saving time, it's all about, things are just going to become simpler, as Christian said before, processes between one company and another, and it's all about, you can basically do everything from the convenience of your home right now. So it's all about, entrepreneurship is just going to become the latest, everyone's going to go into entrepreneurship. There's going to be more entrepreneurial opportunities, starting your own businesses from home, and the great thing about all of this is that the access to education, basically. You can, from the convenience of your home, know how to become a chef, how to become not a doctor, but know everything about medicine, if you're sick and if you're not, about graphic design, about interior design. You can do everything from the convenience of your home, and also with the help of artificial intelligence as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, today we spoke about collaboration. We spoke about the importance of doing your homework before starting your businesses or getting a job. And of course, we had some amazing technological insights and embracing change and turning waste into resources. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been an amazing audience. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Lana Al-Attar, Isaac Rashad, Christian Treichel, Fawaz Shakrallah, and Christian Saba for this amazing panel, Doing Business in the New Millennia. Doing Business in the New Millennia. And now may I please welcome the next panel to the stage, and under Executive Director of C5 Accelerate, Farid Badr, serial entrepreneur and philanthropist, Quinn QS Tong, Managing Director, Asia, Wilmington PLC and founder of ANA by Karma, Hanan Janahi, partner, Chief Happiness Officer of WafiApps.com, Muhammad Rajab, founder and board member of AMFA Holding, and may I please welcome our moderator, Delphine Barrett, who is the founding partner and publisher of Those Who Inspire.
It's on. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry, I was getting my microphone set. Thank you, Isham.
Welcome.
Good evening. Let my guest sit. Good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm Delphine Barrett, co-founder of Those Who Inspire, and I will be the moderator for this panel.
Just to let you know, Muhammad Rajab, he had an emergency and he left, huh? He's a panelist. Muhammad Ayoub, okay. He had an emergency, he left.
Okay. Tonight we will talk about innovation in entrepreneurship, and we have the great honor to have four amazing entrepreneurs. I'll start with the ladies. So we have Mrs. Hadia Fatala, who is the Executive Director for C5 Accelerate. I have Ms. Quinn Tong, Managing Director of Asia Wilmington PLC, and social entrepreneur and founder of ANA by Karma, who also has been named as one of those who inspire Hong Kong. So we have a Hope Officer with Queen. Yeah. And we have a Chief Happiness Officer with Ms. Hanan Janahi, Partner and Chief Happiness Officer of wafihabs.com. And finally, we have Mr. Farid Bader, serial entrepreneur and philanthropist, who carries many hats, but if I understand well, his main passion is to help startups find their hidden potential, right? Okay. All right. Let me try to get organized here. So innovation is truly a confusing buzzword, which many people love to hate. Every business leader agrees that it is important, but nobody can quite seem to agree on what actually it is or what it means. So I will ask my speakers tonight to briefly tell us what they think innovation means. So Farid, do you want to start? What does innovation mean for you?
Well, can you hear me there? The back, yes. Actually, why do we need innovation? Why do we need to be innovative? Do you know that 88% of big 500, Fortune 500, who were existing for decades, they do not exist anymore? So it is very important to innovate. Innovate is part of continuous process of sustainable economy. It's not about only entrepreneurs, but also governments, institutions. Everybody has to innovate within their process, the system, products, and business model.
All right. Can I then ask Hadia Fatala what she thinks about what means innovation?
First, thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity to be here. So I think the question is, what is innovation? And in a nutshell, really, innovation is finding new solutions to existing problems, if you want to really bring it down to the basics. But I think for us, we think of ourselves as an innovation company, and we like to think of innovation as really not just trying to come up with new solutions to existing problems, but to change mindsets and to change the culture and to change the approach in which we address these problems. So for example, if you were to look at just the panel before us, they talked about how in the future things are going to become easier, faster, and less seamless. And that really is what innovation is not fearing to step outside of your comfort zone and to think outside the box. Because if you look at Uber, for example, which is a disruptive innovator, they thought about the transport industry and how to make it easier and more seamless by really thinking outside the norm of what transport should look like. So I think if you ask me what I think innovation is or should be, is to be comfortable stepping outside our comfort zone and trying to innovate our thinking around how to solve these problems. And I guess later in the panel we'll talk a little in more detail, but to me that's it in a nutshell.
Indeed, thank you very much. Hanan, can we ask you what is for you innovation?
Same thing, it's just creating something new. Like, for example, I'm talking about myself. It's a digital world now, e-commerce, online shopping. Shopping started like with local markets, then innovation came, malls are now in everywhere, every country. Now it's turning into digital. So this is innovation, something new, you know, creating demand. People are very busy, they don't have time anymore, you know, for shopping, for daily needs and stuff. So I'm talking about my company.
Yes.
We created this online shopping to be convenient for everybody, and we innovate every day to satisfy our customers, our vendors, and our employees.
All right, thank you very much. Well, Queen, all the way from Hong Kong, what is for you innovation?
I think it is so wonderful that we talk about cultural intelligence today. And okay, I just say a little bit about what I do. I want to stand up because the skirt I'm wearing takes my sister in Bhutan 9 months to hand make. So I think it's worth looking at it. And innovation is about seeing old things with new eyes. And I brought something old. This is something that my weavers also make. If you can hold it. This is a belt. It's very pretty. But you will not buy it unless you want to keep it in your cupboard. So what we did is we take the same weaving technique that they learned from their mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmother and change it into something that you can use. Lily talked about making it unique, and cultural heritage is unique to each different people in the country. But we have to also make it applicable. So what we did is because these are village women, so we have to start with something simple. So what we did, if you can help me, I put only one more hand. This is a luggage belt that we use the same technique, and we want to go to handbag straps that lady likes, and so on and so forth. This is about seeing old things with new eyes. That's what innovation is for us.
All right, thank you very much. So I guess we can we can say that the ultimate definition of innovation will be executing an idea which addresses a specific challenge and achieve values for both the company and customer. I know that, Farid, you want to talk about the why and the how and the what, and that is very important because that's the main question. How can we be innovative? Why should we be innovative? And so please give us some of your thoughts.
Thank you. Nowadays, a lot of talk is mentioned, a buzzword is innovative, let's be innovative, but how? How can we innovative? There are certain three types of innovation. One, product. Look at your product, how can you make it cost effective? How can you make your product unique? That's one way. How can you improve on your product? Like, if ladies would know this, you know the high heel shoes of Harry Carrera, they just added a color at the back of their shoes, red color, and this is innovative. And everybody would like to wear it. So that's an idea. For instance, in our work, we also listen to our staff. We put creative or innovative culture inside the company, and we give award for people who come up with an ideas. If it's a good idea, can save me money or can escalate the product, so they get a reward. For instance, we used to have, used to work and doing the waterproofing on the roof with 2 people, and they used to do 100 square meter. We put this question, how can we make 1,000 square meter with the same people? So that was very challenging. So they came up with an idea, how about if we spray the product and escalate this? So this is how we achieve this 1,000 square meter with the same people achieve that. So ask your people, your staff, to come up with an idea. Ask your client, listen to your clients. Levi's jeans, they saw that their clients are using the Tor jeans, and they listened to them, they liked it, so they went and did that. So process, product, and business model. Business model is very important. Those people who change the business model, and if you don't change your business model, you will be wiped out. Like now, Uber changed the taxi model. Airbnb changed the hotel demography. And also, you have Netflix change the whole movie culture. Business model is important, product, and process.
Thank you very much. I want to talk to you about C5 Accelerate, and I want to talk about what is the risk for us not being innovative as companies.
Sorry, what is the reason companies don't innovate?
Yeah.
Well, so there's a number of layers, right? First of all, there's this question of creating a culture of innovation to start with. And instilling it at a very early age, whether it's in school or it's at university, and obviously then that will, as a result, people will become more innovative, companies as a result will become more innovative because the people have an appreciation for innovation. So there's a number of, I mean, again, I'll address this in two ways. One is companies don't innovate, number one, because they become complacent in their business model, right? They're comfortable, they're staring big cars, you know, they're making some money, and they fear the deviation from what is the norm, because that's what's comfortable, that's what people know, and people usually shy away from change because it's more difficult to manage. And if you take specifically, for example, the fintech sector, which has become a priority in Bahrain, we were one of the first accelerators to design a fintech program. And I remember just 18 months ago, when we were talking to banks and we were talking to the industry in general about fintech, you sensed a very strong hesitation and almost a fear that this is going to disrupt our business, this is going to, you know, transform, and they were trying very hard to push against it. And then there came a point where the banks realized there is nothing we can do about disruption. It is going to happen, and this train is moving. And if we do not jump on this train, we are going to be left behind. So you saw a change in the mind shift, you saw a change in the mindset from where I am going to stop fighting this because I can't fight it, to I am going to start figuring out how I can now adjust my business model, adjust my culture, adjust my leadership thinking to be able to capitalize on this opportunity. And that is how businesses, you know, as Farid mentioned, a lot of the big companies are no longer there because they were resistant to change and they were resistant to disruption. So the companies that will survive are the companies... Sorry, I hope that was not me. But are the companies that can capitalize on the change. But again, I think if you take it a step back, it is also having to create that appreciation for disruption and for innovation at a much earlier stage, starting at the schools, starting at the universities, and starting within your company's team, so as managers or as executives, to encourage the teams not to always just fit into their little, you know, job boxes, but to say, okay, if I have an aspiration to grow, to know that there is opportunity to, you know, to change with the trends.
As I said when I first started, not all of us understand the same thing about innovation, and we sometimes have a question, you know, how can I innovate, but what does really it means to be innovative? And with Queen, we have a very good example that I would like to take, because you work with housewife, village women who are illiterate, and you are still able to bring to them innovation. So if you could talk about that and how you innovate with them, and to a precise example.
Maybe a little bit about my story as a social entrepreneur.
Let's put some context. Yes,
I know many in the room, you choose to be entrepreneurs. I didn't choose. I went to Bhutan. I'm from Hong Kong. I went to Bhutan on a holiday. I met a village housewife. She's poor. She's uneducated, but she could make, you know, these beautiful things that I'm wearing. And I thought, maybe I can help her set up a small home business. And what was supposed to be a one-off help ended up, we sold like 40 over scarves on the first day. I put it on Facebook. And then 100 in 2 weeks, over 1,000 in less than 16 weeks. And I was quite shocked because I was back home in Hong Kong. I don't know how to manage this. But anyway, kind of long story short was, I'm not prepared to be an entrepreneur. I'm an accountant, the boring type. And then they are not prepared to be co-business owners with me. So we had a lot of issues. But what I find is, especially women who has very little, my title is Hope Officer because I felt that every time we sell one scarf, we give them hope. And anyway, with that hope, they keep doing better. So it's about quality first. And now it's about asking them, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And keep pushing them in that way. And I see that when we are given enough, the ladder, and shown how to go up that ladder, we all can. It's just that initially we need that help to get out of our comfort zone, as Hadia just said. So
it's interesting you mentioned the Hope Officer, because we have a Chief Happiness Officer. So apparently those titles are important to innovate. And I would like to ask you, Hanan, I mean, how much your title or your denomination by WAFIAB has helped with your employees and with the customers, and how
vendors.
innovative.
And vendors also.
Yes, and vendors.
Yeah, this is our ultimate goal, is to make our customers, vendors, and employees happy. Because if the employees are happy, they'll work more, they'll give more, they'll satisfy the customer more. And if the customer is happy, they will stay with us, they'll be loyal. This is why we chose the name Wafi. Wafi means loyal in Arabic. So we need the customers to be long-term relation. We don't want a hit-and-run relation and just, to be with us for a year, or we need to be with them.
You think
for
it's
a
better
long
when
time.
they said, I want to call to your Chief Happiness Officer, than I want to talk to your superior? It makes it easier. Yeah.
No, they can talk to me straight away. We have an open door policy.
Yes, of course, please.
I just wanted to add something, because I know we're talking mainly to companies and we're talking about what can companies do. But I think when we're talking about, especially when we're talking about innovation and disruption, we're talking about building an ecosystem and laying a foundation that allows for this kind of thinking to mature and develop. And I think, yes, the companies have a role to play, but government also has a role to play. And perhaps today, academia really, and especially in this part of the world, I think one key component that we would like to see a shift in, to become more in line with sort of the thinking that is innovative, is for academia. And I'll tell I'm sure my team is here and they're going to say, oh my gosh, she's going to tell that story again. But I will tell that story again because it's very useful. A few years ago, I was back in university in the States, and I had a close friend who was Italian, who used to work for the World Bank. And after we'd finish our lunch and our studies, he'd say, I'm going to go to the iLab. And I tell our other friend who is from the region, he's from a fellow GCC country, I'm like, where is Livio going? He keeps going to this iLab. What is he doing at this iLab? I was going to the gym. My friend Muhammad was going to have lunch or something, and Livio would go to the iLab. And then months passed, and he said, I want to invite you to, I'm being awarded this award, and I want to invite you guys. So we go, and he's being awarded by the Harvard Business School this award for developing a business that helped, while he was traveling in Asia, he came up with some technology where proteins that were being developed by a silkworm, if you encase vaccines in them, prolong the shelf life of vaccine, possibly eradicating polio in the future. So can you imagine, while I didn't even know what an iLab was, this man was developing a business that could in the future eradicate polio. You're talking about true disruption and innovation. I, after graduating, felt slightly cheated because I didn't even know what an iLab was. So I think one thing that's very important is at a very early age to raise the awareness and appreciation for these things. Because if I had gone to university knowing that there was an iLab, I might have actually found a few friends and started a company and thought innovatively about this. So I think one thing that we can do better, especially in this part of the world, is to start at a much earlier age to say, look, university pathways don't have to be so standard. You don't have to have a standard employment path. You can think, like I said, outside the box about these things. So I think that's also something to bear in mind.
So, sorry, Hanan, I'll come back to you, but because Farid, I know you're a mentor and you help a lot of young businessmen, and I would like to know, what is your advice that you will give them?
Just one question I want to put to I think there are a lot of students there. Can you raise your hands if you are in universities? Yes. Just one thing I want to say, that we are all born creative. That's the way it is. As a child, we are creative. And we are curious. So curiosity brings creativity. But what happens during our childhood, when we try to explore certain things, the environment stops us from creativity. Don't do that. Don't touch that. Don't do this. So we lose our creativity. So the thing is, we have to bring it back by creating a culture of innovation. This is one point which I wanted to say. I wanted to share a story with you. My son comes to me and he says, Dad, I want to be a cook. Now, wait a minute. I hold myself, I was so angry. I'm paying so much, giving you a good education, and you want to be a cook? But then again, I said, I'm mentoring people to become innovative and creative. How can I now demotivate them? So I hold my breath and I said, oh yeah, what else do you want to be? So I want to open his mind. He said, nothing, just cook. I said, oh, maybe, perhaps you want to have a recipes, write a book. He said, maybe. So slowly, I said, okay, maybe then again, you will sell the book to millions of people outside the country. So I opened his eyes and he said, yeah, Dad, that's a good idea. So this is one of the ways we have to encourage our children. Now, I want to share with you a story also regarding being innovative in the marketing. Sometimes you can copy your competitor, that's fine. Henry Ford, he checked the meat process during those days, and he used the meat process in manufacturing cars. He was successful in doing this. So there is no issue in that. So when in 1992, I had my factory, and I had a product, but nobody wanted to buy my product. The market resisted of buying my product. I didn't know the reason why. Was it my price? Was it my presentation? Was it my marketing approach? Then I came home after doing shopping. I came home. How many of you like to have breakfast cereals? All of you. All right. So I like Weetabix. So I bought Weetabix and I brought home, and I told my wife, where's my Weetabix? She said, you did not buy Weetabix. I said, I did buy it. She said, no, you didn't buy it. I said, okay, can you bring everything, put it on table? I want to see it. So she brought something that the box was the same as the Weetabix, but the name was different. Immediately it clicked in my mind that image is more important than what's written on the box. So I called the factory and I said to them, change the color of the bloody drum. This is why we are not selling. Just make it the same color as the competitor. And magic happened. Our sales went up, and that's fine. You can do that in your businesses, in your business model, or in your marketing.
Hanan, sorry, you wanted to say something about...
And it's like, as Hadia said, resistance. You know, resistance is the main obstacle. So, for example, if there's something new, most people resist it. But my idea is, no, you have to find a way to be with it, or to find the good. You just think, create the good out of it. Number one, it's very important to listen, to observe, and then to deliver to the people. For us as entrepreneurs, to be successful, we have to listen to what people need. What do they lack? And then we have to observe. Sometimes people, they don't realize what they need. We can create this demand, and then we deliver it to them, and that's very important.
All right, thank you very much. I'll go back to Hadia, because I would like to talk about innovation in Bahrain today. I know C5 is a London-based company at first, but with a couple of offices, and one is Bahrain. So what is innovative for you today in Bahrain, and how can Bahrain be even more innovative?
Core operations, especially around innovation, happen here in Bahrain. We actually built our first accelerator and Bahrain's first technology accelerator in Bahrain. And what is great is this is really a story of partnership. And Bahrain provides such a great landscape to innovate, because not only is the government very forward-thinking, most countries you go to the world and the private sector is 10 years ahead of government. This is one of the unique cases where government is actually blazing the trail around regulation, around empowering the right players, and around creating a healthy ecosystem. So Bahrain is really a great place to build on innovation. So what we did a few years ago, when Amazon was having conversations with the government about bringing its cloud region to the MENA region, and a lot of you know that last year Amazon signed an agreement with the government of Bahrain, making Bahrain the first place to build its data centers. There was a recognition that there's great opportunity to build on the cloud, and there's great opportunity to innovate by using cloud computing. So we partnered with Amazon, with the Economic Development Board, and with Temkeen to build an accelerator that helps young startups use this great technology to be able to scale their businesses. So that is what we do, really. We run a program called Cloud 10, and we bring in young startups. We help them scale using cloud technology. And I think what Bahrainis and what countries in the region need to realize is we are going through this fourth industrial revolution, and technology is going to change not only the way we do business, but the way we build solutions, the way we live our lives. And everyone in university and everyone who's thinking of starting a startup should be looking at this technological transformation and figuring out how they can benefit from it. And one key way is, again, using artificial intelligence, using robotics, using cloud. And Bahrain really has become a good launch pad for these new innovative ideas and technologies. So as C5, yes, we are a London-based company, but a lot of our innovation is happening here in Bahrain. We also have a sister accelerator that sits in Washington, D.C., that also helps companies scale using Amazon's cloud.
Okay, all right. Well, I was just curious, out of all places you choose Bahrain, so there must be something very, innovative and tempting. But like Quinn said, sometimes you can also work on all things to make them innovative. Quinn, would you like to amaze you more with the Bhutanese weavers?
Maybe I start by saying that people always ask me, why do you continue to do this? Because actually I work full-time. So if any one of you are still working full-time and want to step into entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship, it's possible. So I enjoy doing this because Mother Teresa said, not all of us can do great things, but each one of us here, we can do small things with great love. And on that note, I want to weave together what my panelists said. Hadia, you said about innovating first with your team and then your company and the community, and you talk about listening, and of course you talk about charity begins at home. So I want to show you a very special product. It's about products, right? Product, process, and what was the last one? Business model. I haven't come to the business model yet. If you don't mind, I stand up again. So in Hong Kong, we are all about brands. We like our LV bags, but if I just want to hold this up in case Your Excellencies, you want to buy this for your wives or daughter or mother. This one, my mother made it from plastic bags. You know, your chips and your whatever. I think the panel, Ishak, you must be very happy. You can check out this bag too. So my mom made this because she said to me that she's inspired by my work of doing small things with great love, and she wants to try to. So one day, she just weave all this together and gave it to me. I think that's a great example about innovation starting right at home. And so if you can inspire your mother to be innovative and to do good, I think that's the best I can do.
All right. So I think we will open the floor for questions. Does anybody have questions? There are microphones going left and right, if I remember well from the first panel. Anybody with question about innovation? No question at all. There is? Okay. I'm sorry, I actually can't see that well.
Hello. I want to thank you first, and I'd like to know what are the most commonly made mistakes by startups and how to avoid them.
Farid, do you want to go on that one?
I wouldn't think that way. I would like to shift your mind to make a mistake. It doesn't matter. We all made mistakes, we all failed, but we failed forward. We learn from our mistakes and we go forward. I think the culture that they are good for nothing. No, we need to bring this culture back and try to celebrate failure, they call it. So what? But we don't want to, but failure is okay to fail and learn from your mistakes. I cannot say what mistake, because I made a lot of mistakes. Okay, I can advise, I share my experience. I cannot advise you. I can share where I failed, and it needs a lot of time. I cannot say it in just 2 minutes.
Can I add to that? Since
Yes,
we
of
run
course.
an accelerator and we see a lot of startups, is true. I mean, we shouldn't shy away from, and I don't know if the word failure is necessary. I think just, when you shoot a basketball, they don't say you failed. You say you missed the mark, and then you shoot again, and at some point you're going to score. So maybe there's no need to focus on the word failure itself. But I think, yes, it's okay to make mistakes and to get up and grow from them, because it makes you more resilient. But there are things that you can do as a startup or as an entrepreneur to obviously increase your chances of survivability. And one is obviously find the product and the problem solution equation right? Don't build a business that doesn't solve a problem in the market just because you think it's a great idea or you really like it. So if you want to build a business, make sure it is catering to a need that exists in the market. Second thing is you need to develop robust teams. We've oftentimes seen a great product that is brought down to the ground because the members of that company are too stubborn to be able to pivot the company or scale it. Two, yes, curate a strong, solid team. Third thing is listen to, bring in a strong board and work with mentors and maybe go into an acceleration program and learn from the experts. Oftentimes founders are so attached to their products that they fail to get themselves out of their tunnel vision and their groupthink, and they just want to say, no, I like it, I believe it's good, I'm going to run with it. Listen to the market, listen to the experts. So again, if you have the opportunity to go into an accelerator or incubator, that also increases your chances. So yes, make mistakes, but build on a strong foundation so that when you bounce back from that failure, you bounce back stronger and can survive. Because no one wants to waste their time starting a business that is going to waste time and money.
Sure. I think the importance of mentor is very important.
Just can I add something? If you want to start a business, you have to solve a big problem. Don't solve a local problem. Solve a global problem. For instance, now we are talking to one startup in Bahrain. She's very intelligent, young entrepreneur. She wants to make learning free for millions of people. And we are connecting her to global AI, artificial intelligence, and blockchain to put them together and create a business model. So don't be afraid of dreaming big and starting small. Sheikh Hisham mentioned the government is supporting you. New generation, you are lucky. You are very lucky. We have so much support from different Tamkeen, and we have incubators, C9, CH5, and you name it, NEST. And there are a lot of things, a lot of support, a lot of incubators here. All you need to do is be ambitious, be passionate about what you're thinking. And the most successful entrepreneurs who, like her, it comes from the pain. From the pain. If it's a pain, then you'll be successful.
Hanan, you wanted to bounce back? I mean, we got a lot of mileage from that question.
Just, yeah. Yeah, it's as you said, you have to do mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. But you fail when you repeat the same mistake. Sometimes they say it's not late to start. It's you can start all over again. You learn from mistakes. But some people just repeat and repeat the same pattern, and they think they'll succeed because they're just starting all over again. But learn from your mistakes. Don't repeat them. When you repeat them, that's when you fail.
Okay, that's really when it's a mistake. Do we have another question? Yes.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you for excellent opportunities to share your opinions. I have actually my opinions. My name is Ahmed Fadl. I'm a human behavior specialist. I believe the entrepreneurs, they are all of them looking at one thing only, that activating their own personal highest value that's within. Many of entrepreneurs who are trying to copy people, who think inspire of others and just copying them, they are not entrepreneurs. So what is your opinion? Is it the entrepreneurs working from within or copying people to be entrepreneurs? Because as a human, we live in the hierarchies of values within. That's the secret of activating the energy within the human itself. And we cannot activate the human energy without going to inside, which is our own personal value. And that's require mind to think, and I think that's the secret of the entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Oh, okay, so it was more of a statement than a question. I'm a little bit confused because you said it's kind of okay to also copy if that's where it gets you to go to the next step and maybe innovate.
A lot of, nowadays we see localizing of the, like Kareem is a copy of Uber, right? So there's no issue in that. You can now take business models and localize it. But I wanna add to this gentleman, which he put this case. If I can share with you, usually, like I said, if it comes from a pain and you solve a big problem, then you are successful. When I was a young entrepreneur and I had my project, I was doing like waterproofing business. I used to import product from UK, and this supplier, he stopped supply of the product. So I told him, one day I'm going to make factory in Bahrain. And he laughed at me. And it was like a fire in my belly. When I went to the bank for a loan, he told me, I'll ask you 3 questions. If you answer it right, I'll give you the money. I'll write the check. He asked me, why are you doing this? I said, there is a pain. There is a fire in my belly. I need to do this. Second question, who is your customer? I said, I am the customer. 50% of the production will be off-taken by. The third, where is your market? Global market. So he liked this, and he wrote the check. And he handed over the check to me, and he said, I want 30% of that. Because he saw that this project is going to be successful. And we returned their money back with a lot of dividend. And this is what I keep saying. Find your passion, which is a pain, which comes from a pain, and then you will be successful. And don't worry about the money. Where am I getting the money from? There are a lot of institutions who are ready to come and help you.
All right. Hadia, you wanted to comment on the last question and
I didn't see the person in the audience who asked that question.
It was very difficult to actually.
I couldn't find him. I was looking all over the place. But I think, look, sometimes, oh, there you are. I was going to say, I like the green scarf because I feel like the question or the comment was a little, and this is not a judgment or anything, but it was a little feel good. And I think it's okay to feel good and say, look, when we're talking about business, we have to dig deep into our heart and find our passion, and we have to align it with our ethos and make sure, and all these things are true. No one should start a business that's unethical. It's very difficult today to try to justify an arms trade, for example, or drug sales. So yes, it should be ethical, and it should come from a passion that is burning within you. All that is great, and you should do that. But there are still the practical components. You know, you can have a burning passion to start a business that no one wants to support or buy. And you know what? Please don't waste your time on a burning passion for a business that no one wants to invest in or buy. So yes, find a passion that aligns nicely with market needs, aligns nicely with investable outcomes, and is something that you can deliver. If you're a small Bahraini business, try to be realistic about the expectations. Cater to a specific market that you can address. You know, don't say I am going to, go tomorrow and build a business that's going to bring down Coca-Cola. It's unlikely that you're going to do that overnight. It's unlikely that I'm going to become the next Bill Gates or Zuckerberg. That does not mean that I should not find a passion that I have burning in my belly and try to align it with a market need. So yes, I agree that we should find a way to align our ambitions with the tendencies of the universe, but let's do that in a way that we can actually take to market, make commercial, and find actual people who want to put money into something that will bring them actual returns.
All right, thank you very much, Hadia. Hisham, do we still have time for questions? 3 minutes, okay, so one more question from the audience.
Okay, my name is Nizar Laufi. My question is going to be at the end. For me, in order to be success, I think you need to have 6 P's. Number 1, be proactive. You need to start. You don't have to wait. Number 2, you have mentioned it a lot, is being passionate about what you are doing. Number 3 is to have a purpose. You said align. You need to be aligned with the vision, with the mission, with your organization, with your culture, name it. Number 4, you have to have plan and prioritize your plan. Number 5, plan is by itself is not going to be enough. You have to practice. Number 6 is patience. I wonder if you agree with me or not, and what can you add to these 6 P's? Thank you so much.
Who wants to go on the P's?
I don't know where you got that from, which is very nice. It was my, my 5P. I want to add one more thing. When you are successful, you have to pay back to community. Help others. I learned this from my mother.
Anybody else on P's?
I'm going to add another P to that, which I'm sure you didn't think was possible, but perseverance. So this concept of bouncing back and being resilient, and the idea of, failure and then coming back, and then failure and then coming back. To persevere. Most people think that young entrepreneurs are, these wild guys who quit these jobs and jump into the unknown, and that's actually not true. A lot of entrepreneurs have developed a lot of expertise and experience in life. They've got college degrees, they have, savings, they have, curated a strong resume that allows them to actually have developed the grit to build businesses. And if the businesses fail, they know that they have something to fall back on, and that is because they are resilient and they persevere.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else for P's? Queen, any P's?
As I said, I started all this by accident. I didn't have any P. But I must say that one thing that allows me to continue is to have this playful mindset. Every day I'm having fun. So I don't want to give it up because it's kind of fun. And it's so fun that I'm even in Bahrain with all of you. Thank you so much.
That's another P, Quinn.
Yeah, that's another P, playful. Okay, so I think we will do a closing statement, and I will say that every organization has the capacity to become innovative. In other words, innovation is not limited to startup or to elite research labs. Every company is capable of renewal that change the rules of the game, that uncovers opportunities, and that capitalize on new possibilities. I thank my panelists, and I thank the wonderful audience here tonight. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, moderator Delphine Barrett, Hanan Janahi, Queen QS Dong, Farid Badr, and Hadia Fathallah for such an inspiring panel, Innovation in Entrepreneurship. It is now time to talk about the past, present, and future of artificial intelligence. So it's time to talk about the past, present, and future of artificial intelligence. And Melda, I have your mic, so it's here. So may I please welcome to the stage Melda Akin, Advanced Digital Transformation Consultant, founder of Dimension 14, founder of Nemoit. Thank you.
Hello. Yes, yes, thank you. سلام عليكم. أنا مستانسة لأني في البحرين. شكرا لكم and valued حبيت البحرين. And I'm very happy to be in Bahrain, by the way, because I love traveling, I love exploring the world and also exploring myself. Bahrain is the only country that I've never heard anything negative. So you have amazing country and I'm very happy to be here. So, and hopefully next year I will be fluent in Arabic. I'm putting full of my effort and I'm taking lessons. So hopefully next year we will talk in Arabic. Basically I'm from Turkey, from Izmir, the west side of Turkey. It's the mixed culture of the country. So that's why I know how to do tango, waltz, and also belly dancing. I know something in Arabic and something in Greek, something in Italian, because it's the mix of all over the world. You know, the Second World War, we are a mix of the cultures. So basically, I grew up in a family that the family business was oil and gas. So my dad was working day and night, and I was always wondering what he is doing. Because when I asked something to him, he was telling that, Melda, I'm working, so don't disturb me. One day, he came home, and he was carrying big, shiny red box. And he said that, Melda, guess what it is? And I dreamed full of chocolate. And he said, no, this is the computer, and this is the future. You have to learn it. On that time, it was a magical moment, because I was so surprised. I had an uncle, his name is Abdullah. He was a bit mystery guy, because I didn't have too much time to see him, because he was traveling a lot, and he was in IT business. He was working for Turkish Research and Technology Center. And I was wondering what he was doing, and they told me that he's in IT. I said that, okay, it can be a good opportunity to learn. And I started to spend my time with my computer. Then after that, I started to wonder what it is, who coded it, how it works, and what is the basic of this. That's why when I was 11 years old, I started to coding as a front-end development. And that was nice, and I decided to be a computer scientist. And in Turkey, to be able to go to the university, you have to take a national exam. And the national exam, 2 days before, I became extremely sick, and I was at the hospital, and the doctor said that, Melda, you cannot go to the exam. You have to wait for next year. It was an awful experience, but I went to the university to enroll for the exam. And my score was good, but not like I expected. So when they announced the result, I cried a lot. Then I went to the cemetery. In Turkey, in Izmir, there is a summer spot called as Eski Foça. It was a very shiny, the beach and the cafes, bars. It was so nice, but I was in the cemetery. And then I realized that I was still alive, and there was still time, and I can do it. And then I enrolled to computer engineering department. It was awesome experience, because normally it takes 5 years to complete the university. I made it 2.5, and then the master degree in intelligent engineering systems. It was for 2 years, and the best years in my life. And during that time, I was research and teaching assistant in, again, computer engineering department and software engineering. We were talking about the machine learning, artificial intelligence, the neural networks, human computer interactions. So on that time, before artificial intelligence course, the professors came into the classroom and he asked, do you have any idea what the artificial intelligence is? And now we have been still discussing about what is the artificial intelligence, how we can define. So maybe before talking about artificial intelligence, it might be good to define it. So we can say that artificial intelligence is an entity that can act like human, understand the environment by pursuing the current data, learning and solving the problems. So this part is the AI. So we have one small video. I would like to show you this video. Then I would like to continue about entrepreneurship and the artificial intelligence. Could you please turn on the video?
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Have any more problems. Thank you for all of your help. You've been great. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. The artificial intelligence field is quite new when we compare with the other fields. So it's about 60 years old. So it started with Alan Turing. It's like the godfather of the AI. And he asked one question: can machine think? And after that, the Minsky and the McCartney from US They also provide one study in one of the biggest conferences in US. They also try to understand how machine can think. So these are the first steps for the AI. So when we look at today, lots of things has changed because we have been talking about the machine learning, the neural networks, and advanced decision-making systems. So to be able to talk about the AI and to be able to stay in the game, we should give all of our times and everything. And when we look at for the entrepreneurship side, you know, technology is a huge spectrum, and the science is huge spectrum. So if you would like to get in the AI field or other field, it doesn't matter which field you are, and if you want to be entrepreneur, because I'm seeing lots of entrepreneur, I think we can classify with the 4 steps. So firstly, knowing ourselves. We should prove ourselves to ourselves, because we should compete with the ones that yesterday, who I am, and yesterday and today and the tomorrow. These are the cases. And the second one is following our passion. We all know that, because if we do what we love, we never feel that we are working. And the third one is embrace the change. And the fourth is the biggest step, taking the risk. Last year, when I decided to resign my position, because I was the management member and I was the youngest director, people said that, Melda, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Because I think to be able to successful, I think the money shouldn't be the main case. If you focus on just to be successful, at the end of the day, you're gonna make the money. So I think it's extremely important, just changing the world. And back in 2008 in San Francisco, there was one conference, and the co-founder of Google, Larry Page, he asked one question, and the question was so simple. The answer is yes or no. He asked that, are you working on something that can change the world? I want you to ask this question to yourself as well. Are we working on something that we can change the world? So this question and the second one from the Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, she said that, what would you do if you don't afraid of? These questions are main questions that I always take into account and keep in my pocket. So that's why I started to ask myself about what would you do, Melda, if you don't afraid of? Last year, I traveled a lot in all the Europe, the US, the Latin America, and I ended up with the Brazil and the Rio and Salvador, because I was so afraid of traveling alone to Brazil. But to be able to break this limit, I had to. So that's why I traveled to Brazil. I had amazing time over there. And of course, I got lots of insights, because it's dangerous, be careful, not like Bahrain. So I have to be extremely careful. What I learned there as well, whatever we say, whatever we talk about, it's related with the one you are talking with. It's related with their limitation. So that's why when people ask me, Melda, you are young. Yes, I'm young. But you don't know what I was doing when you were sleeping yesterday, and you don't know what I was doing 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So that's why to be able to catch the train, we have to give all our passion or everything. So when we go back to AI, you know, artificial intelligence basically algorithms and the modeling. So it's kind of the optimization, and if we go more detail, it's the combinatorial optimization. So there are several problems in the world. Mostly they are related with the planning and the analyzing and making the decision. So we also classify these problems as normal problems, deterministic problems, then the difficult ones, non-deterministic polynomial hard problems. Like the environment, they have lots of options, possibilities. I will give you one example. For example, sometimes even it's difficult to go to the cinema or go to the theater. But what will happen if we have 10,000 options and we have to decide right now? We should have the history, we should have the current status, we should have the advantages and disadvantages, and we should decide on right now. But with the human brain, it's impossible to do it. So how AI do? So it's related with the machine learning, that the one that perceive the environment, and after that, based on this environment, finding the best way to go. So to be able to do this, we also do work on the neural networks and the deep learning. The biggest companies like Amazon, Google, and they do very hard deep learning. For example, the Google, they have a huge data. If we put on a real numbers, it's about 30 million personal computer data. So how we gonna decide, how we gonna find the best optimal solution with that kind of environment? And if we look at more broader, you know, the current status in the electromagnetic spectrum, we can only see less than 1% of the whole spectrum. And when we look at the acoustic spectrum, it's less than 1% of acoustic spectrum. And for now, in this room, we have been traveling at 220 kilometers per second across the galaxy. So imagine how much the data is big. So for the neural networks, the scientists think that to go more detail. Let's look at how we learn. Let's say that we are like a machine. So when we are baby, how we learn to walk, how we learn to run, how we learn to talk, you know, it happens with our advanced brains. So with the neurons, that's the beauty and the extremely magical wise. So the thing that AI, they use the same system. So some parts, I don't think that tomorrow we're gonna some trouble with AI. There might be something terrible, but there can be something great as well. Because in AI, during the master degree and also some PhD, they teach about the ethics, because the AI should serve to the many, not to the few. Because people mostly keep asking me, okay, what will happen? Are they going to kill us? So is it dangerous? It might be dangerous. Of course, it depends on the perspective. For example, 10 years ago, when we see the machine that played chess, it was awesome. But now, Google developed the Go, AlphaZero Go, and in AlphaZero Go, there are possibilities so huge, 10 to 170. So how we can decide? There should be something that can understand at the same time and find the right value and provide the feedback. On the other hand, this system still continue to learn all the system and compare the current status and the past, and by combining all this information, it should give the optimal solution. So how we can use it? For the examples, the real life, like the chatbots, the recommendation system, optimization in the manufacturing, optimization in aviation, the logistics, the production, healthcare, and the universities. So everywhere we have to make the right decision, right? So, and also the image processing and translation, the Google Translate. You know, and the Google Translate and the other translation and everything, I can give you the basic. So AI mostly the modeling and integrating with this one with the algorithms. So if we want to translate something on Google or the other softwares, before that there is an engine that's ready to understand the input. So we are the one that gives the input. And in the engine, it starts to try to find the best way with the decision-making algorithms, and it starts with the comparison between the data and the real data. And after that, we have the real data. So this is the basic background process of the AI system. And currently, the companies, they have been investing a lot in AI. It's about 47, I guess it's based on the Gartner analysis and the survey, it was about $47 billion. God, that means huge. So tomorrow, we don't know what will happen. As I said, it can be something terrible. It can be something beneficial for all of us. But I think as we are all mortal, none of us are immortal, especially yet. So three things gonna matter, I think. So the first one, I think it will remain same for ages. It's the humanity, human being, how much we love. And the second one will be the how much we share. And the third one, how much we serve the community and humanity to make the world the better place to live in. So if we look at it in this perspective, AI gonna bring us lots of great opportunities. Some people say that, are we going to lose our jobs? Well, it's related with changing the tasks. 10 years ago, we weren't talking about the data scientist position, but today we have data scientist position. So again, 10 years ago, we were talking about computer engineers, but now we say software developers or the developers, researchers, and the scientists. So the way that we work, the way that we create value, these are the ones that can change in the future. So I think no need to lose our hopes. So I don't think that they're gonna kill us. Because why, do you know any doctor that they want to kill their patient? So I guess it's all related with making today better than yesterday and preparing ourselves for tomorrow. There are a lot of things about the AI, the machine learning, and the neural networks, and all these fields. But I prefer to go with the interactive session. If you have any question, I would be happy to answer it, because during the break, I got some questions. So it will be great if you join me and to talk together. For now, thank you for listening me, and I'm waiting your questions. Thank you. Shukran.
Thank you. That was eye-opening for me for artificial intelligence. My name is Hatem from Applied Science University, and I just want you to elaborate a little bit more on something you mentioned early on in your presentation. For all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, you said, guys, don't focus on chasing the money, focus on being successful. So I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more. So how can we strike a balance? You know that by its very definition, entrepreneurship or innovation is bringing value, finding value, chasing financial prosperity on the one hand, but on the other hand, one has to fulfill his passion or her passion, finding a solution to a problem. How can we strike a balance between the two? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, for example, I think money and the financial is like the lockers, because lots of people, They cannot leave their job because they have to make the money. But of course, we have to take the risk. Without any risk, without giving something from yourself, you cannot take it more. So that's why, if you believe that you have very innovative idea, and if you believe that your passion will bring something better for today, if you think that you're gonna solve the problem, of course, you're gonna serve all the community, and at the end of the day, you're gonna make the money. But, for example, in my previous company, I was also responsible for hiring all the process, all the people. Even in the first interview, they were asking, how much money you are going to pay? I cannot work with you. Because it's, of course, we're going to pay. Of course, it will not be free. But if this is the first question, so how are you going to create the value? So how we can trust, how I can be sure that if there is a problem in the system, if we have to work until morning, how I can be sure that you're going to stay with me at the office? These are the cases. Yeah. Any question?
Thank you for the lovely speech. And my only question is, do you think that with AI, that will increase unemployment? Since then we will be depending on robots and, machines and stuff other than physically humans.
Well, it's definitely gonna change the working environment. So, like the example, the data scientist. Today we have lots of data scientist position in the companies. Of course it's gonna affect. For example, not in a bad way, I think. It's because it depends on the perception, which way we have been looking for. If you would like to be a cashier for a long time, it might be a bit risky because now it's automated payment systems. So jobs can be, but if we adapt ourselves to the community and if we adapt ourselves to the technology, of course we're gonna find new jobs. So we should just keep ourselves updated. That was, yeah.
The first time, thank you. My question is, how can I be the financial freedom?
I couldn't hear.
My question is, how can I be a financial freedom?
How can you be financially free?
Freedom, yes.
What does it mean? I couldn't get it.
It's a meaning about...
In AI? Are you asking for AI or the entrepreneur?
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sorry?
I can't hear you. What do you mean?
Could you please repeat your question again?
My question is, how can be a financial freedom? What's the steps I can be the financial freedom?
I couldn't get it.
What's the steps I can
Like
be
financially
financial
free.
freedom? Yeah.
In AI field?
Huh?
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Well, of course. So let me give you let me tell you my experience. When I decided to move to Dubai, I left my own city. In Izmir, I had amazing life. I have my own apartment, my own car, my own life. But I have to take the risk. So when I moved to Dubai, I rent a room in the apartment. Take the risk to be able to get the time and the chance. So, of course, you should plan your future. Of course, you should have some money, but the minimum. So the first focus should be that to cover your expenses. And like the machine learning, you should start to elaborate, you should start to analyze your past data, yesterday and today. And secondly, there are lots of funds and investors. So the funds and investors are also a good option, but I think finding them as well. Because finding an investor, if you just focus on finding an investor for the financial, it's also an option. But my advice would be having an investor and the one that can help you to grow. There was one lady, blue. Yes, you. Sorry? Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Ruswan. I have one question on the AI thing. You mentioned that we have a lot of data that can be used for the prediction purpose or for the human being to handle, for the betterment of the human life. But as a student of AI, I think that there should be some balance between the good data and the data that can be useful, because even though we have a lot of data, but handling that data is also a challenge in the artificial intelligence world. And what the industry are looking, because if we have millions of data, how you can handle all the data? Because some of the data, if you use it in your in the model, that could be misleading. So how the industry is tackling to these challenges, I just want to know.
The main data pool is unstructured data. We classify this data with the two explanations. One is structured data and unstructured data. In the normal way, all data are unstructured. So the first way is to be able to apply AI. These all unstructured data turn to be structured data. And if we look at how we're going to compute this data, how we're going to work on it, so there are also other options like the supervised data and the unsupervised data. So always it's related with the clustering the data. We cannot use all the data without analyzing. We should classify, cluster, and we should understand the data, and we should decide on which algorithm we're going to use, plus which model we are going to use. In the university in optimization and heuristic course, the professor had asked me, Melda, what is your objective function? And I said, what? What does it mean, the objective function? And he said, define your problem. I said, define my problem? Yes, I'm trying to optimize the decision process. And he said, define it. It's the mathematical equation. When you define your problem, that means the modeling. The second part is the deciding the algorithm based on the data you have. And after that, you ask, is it structured and unstructured? What can I do with this data? Should I go with the supervised? Should I go with the unsupervised? How I should train the data? This is the machine learning.
Okay. Here.
Yeah.
Thank you for this very beneficial presentation about artificial intelligence. My question is focused on Bahrain and the GCC. What is the strength that you see in GCC and Bahrain that they can enhance the artificial intelligence sector and reach global scale? And what we miss here? What we miss here to be like, for example, to reach the global standard? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question as well. I think Gulf and Bahrain is a hot point, and everyone wishing to get into this market. And of course, for the AI, we should have talented system analysts. We should have coders. We should have the one that knows the theory, and also plus the ones that knows the modeling. And we should also have the ones that combine the theory, the scientific theory, and the business cases. So it's also, the quite new field. So there should be startups, there should be problems, and we need the problem solver. So the only one person cannot do the system analysis, the modeling, the optimization, advanced heuristics. It's impossible. How I started to interested in Bahrain, well, actually, when I decided to set up this AI, my question was, what would happen if we make the right decision every time? And in Europe, there wasn't anyone that believed my idea. And in the US, I attended the Stanford classes and also in Boston. They said that, Melda, yes, this is okay, but there are lots of companies, you are competing with other ones. And I didn't lose my hope. In Dubai, I had a chance to talk with the president of Boeing, Bernard Tan. And I asked him, Bernard, I'm thinking to do this, and this is my idea. I wonder your honest opinion. And he looked at me, and I got the answer, because he loved it. And actually, he is the one that introduced me with the Bahrain, because he said that, Melda, you should be in Bahrain. The Bahrain is an awesome country. They support the youth a lot. They are extremely friendly. These are all real, by the way. I'm not lying. And he said that the Bahrain is a heaven in the Middle East. So that's why I'm also planning to move to Bahrain. Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you very, very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
It was really appreciated. So I would have like two very quick questions. So the first one, you said that artificial intelligence is here to help people and to make life easier. What about, I want to ask about like how flexible can it be? Taking back your example of the cashier. So basically cashier people would not exist anymore. But what if the machine makes a mistake and I'm at the supermarket and I have no human being to talk to explain that there is a mistake? So how to solve this? And second, who is accountable for the artificial intelligence? And I think this is a much bigger problem. Let me take a very extreme example. Like, let's say today we have all this artificial intelligence algorithm that are being developed for cars to be like self-driven. So what if this car kills someone? Who is responsible? Is it the company, the developer, the data scientist? No one. So
the company.
How can we do this? Like how is it managed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First, let me explain your question by giving an example. When I landed in Bahrain, I saw that there was a construction in the airport. And I said that, yes, the Bahrain is growing. They have been working on the construction of the airport. There might be a problem. Then I started to think about how we can solve this problem. Let's say that we got the project for the Bahrain airport. Let's say that 100 gates, 100 check-in, 100 security, and 100 check-in courts. How are we going to organize? So I'm telling that how we can work. Firstly, we should gather all the data, what we have today, and what we would like to do. So with this one, we will start to work on the combination, like using the combinatorial optimization algorithms to be able to find the optimal value, optimal planning, and it should be real time. So we will create one model, and this model will be our decision-making agent. It's the artificial intelligent agent. And let's say that you are CEO, and I will ask you that, okay, give me data, because you have already structured data, I assume. If not, we're going to turn this unstructured data to structured data. And firstly, we're going to work on the model, how it works. There are inputs. We're going to put all the inputs to the model, and it started to work on it. And that time, it's very crucial because we're going to do a cross-check. Is it working? Is it real? Is there any risk? Is it productive enough? Is it optimal enough? And we are going to be sure that it's working. So what will happen when this engine working? And we will generate another model that covers the risky moments. So there will be a routing, the plan, the working on a model, then the test, the risky moment, and the normal one. So with this combination, it will always give the real-time solution. Of course, we cannot leave it to only the machine. There should be data scientists that can understand what's happening. There should be modeling specialists and optimization specialists. They should understand what will happen. If the Bahrain government decided to make it bigger, it should be updated. So we will need another expertise. And for the second question, I think, is it enough? Do you want me to explain more? Okay. The second one, I guess it was last year, there was an accident and the Tesla. So the company mostly responsible for this one. And the other examples, you know, the Cambridge Analytica problem with the Facebook, there are some rules. Of course, everything should be legal and transparent. If this thing related with the illegal, you know, we have GDPR as of last May, it's related with the company. But if we develop an AI agent, I'm just giving an example, it happened in the Pentagon, I guess, 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. If this agent, for example, act like a racist, developer can be guilty because the machine gonna act based on what you give. Yeah. Yeah? Oh, sorry.
Okay, no problem. How can I know the right business that I can invest in? I'm an entrepreneur and an investor. Okay, so my question is, how can I know the right business to just get in?
How you can be sure that you find the right investor?
Beg your pardon?
Bigger one?
Beg your pardon? Repeat your...
Are you asking the one how you can find the best investors?
No. My question is, how can I find the right business that I can invest in?
How?
Yeah. I can know that it's the right vehicle.
What you want to do? To make the money, change the world, helping to someone?
I want to make both, you know?
Yeah. The common issue. Well...
And sorry, of course I want to make a lot of money. Yeah.
So, what is your background, by the way?
I work in real estate before, yeah, and now I work in cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and before of that, I was working in direct selling.
Well, there might be lots of investment options, but what would I do? I would invest definitely in technology, because the technology is the future. But as an investor, I would prefer to have the technological background. If you are okay and if you are interested in the technology and if you know the basic and if you are committed to learn and to help them with the technology. If you ask me the question about the blockchain or the artificial intelligence or the image processing, I think decision making will be hot for a long time. The blockchain is also, but of course the blockchain depends on which part you have been looking for. Are you interested in distributed database systems or are you interested in the financial part? The coins. Coins is a bit risky. I wouldn't suggest.
Yeah, it's risky when I trade.
Yeah, you trade? You win, then you lose, right?
Yeah, a lot of times. But I also mine Bitcoin.
Join AI, decision making and the AI systems. And blockchain is also option. But I think we have a bit time for the blockchain.
Okay, blockchain is a great decision to make now.
And for example, the blockchain, it works the best. Then there wasn't any trust. I think the Bahrain is not a good option for the blockchain, for the security system, because you are all transparent, you know all each other, there is an excellent in Bahrain.
Yeah, but in the future it will be a great investment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know where is the microphone.
Hi, microphone is here.
Okay, thank you.
We are from small business group. I run restaurant. My friend run garment factory. Since you're going to set up here, how can you help us with AI?
On the restaurants, for example, I partnered with one of the startup in San Francisco. They got an investment from the Silicon Valley. And that's the thing that also made me interested in, because before that we implemented after this question, okay. Let's say that you have lots of shopping center and you have a restaurant and you would like to have loyal customer. How you can get your loyal customer and how you can get your potential customer. At this point, AI can help you. The recommendation system, sending the right message, because nowadays we have been getting lots of notifications, and sometimes I'm getting crazy and I just uninstall the app or I just turn off the notification. But AI can help you to send the right notification to exactly your potential customer. This is just one example, but Nora said that we don't have time, so we can discuss later on if you want. Okay. Shukran. Where is the presenter? Shall I continue? I can't see. Shall I continue? Where is it? Okay. Where is it?
Put it in the pocket. This is fine. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here at MANAMA Entrepreneurship Week. This is our last session for the evening, so hopefully we can get a little bit more energy. And the last session this evening is about the challenges and opportunities of creating a food and beverage concept in the GCC. I'm very excited to talk about this with this panel because I myself am in the food industry. My name is Sinan Khatib. I have several fast food chains here in Bahrain, Burrito Loco, Noodle Walk, and Sandwich Guys. And I'm delighted tonight to be able to introduce a very distinguished panel who come from different walks of life in the food and beverage industry, and we'll be able to talk to them and ask them questions about some of the challenges, bright spots, and opportunities that they see in the region. I first would like to introduce Bishara, who is the managing partner and founder of Dose Cafe. He's also a senior manager at Bahrain International Circuit. Bishara, if you can join us on the panel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Second, I'd like to introduce Mohammed Abdel Al, Mohammed is the, of course he deserves a standing ovation even. Mohammed is the winner of the 2017 Bahrain Entrepreneurship Award, awarded by the Crown Prince. We're delighted to have Mohammed here. He's the founder and CEO of All Food for Foodstuff. Mohammed's company imports and exports a variety of food products, and he's the supplier to some of the best restaurants in Bahrain. Next, I'd like to introduce Hussein Khalil. Hussein is the founder of It's on Wheels. It was founded in 2017 in Bahrain, and he makes food trailers, portable kitchens, and food kiosks. Welcome to Hussein. And last but not least, I'm very delighted to introduce, a little closer? Okay. I'd like to introduce Sosan Baluch. Sosan is the owner of Mahonia, My Cafe, and Iris, which are some of the nicest and most elegant restaurants and lounges in Bahrain, and I'm delighted to have her perspective shared with us here this evening. So, welcome to the panel. Thank you. Jumping right into things, I wanted to ask you, Bishara, first. Here in Bahrain, we have, and not just in Bahrain, but in the GCC, I'm seeing an enormous number of artisanal coffee shops and coffee houses that are opening up. And so I was interested first in the story of Dose and what prompted Dose to come into being. And if you can tell us a little bit about what you think is happening with this blossoming area of so many different cafes and artisanal coffee houses opening.
Thank you for inviting us for this lovely conference. And thank you for your audience, the audience that's sitting for more than 3 hours waiting for us. I think the story started from Kuwait, where the coffee shop started there and the new concept of coffee shops started. And the people or the consumer now is more, let's say clever, let's say Google, getting more recipes and getting more coffee options. And the consumer now are looking for something different from A and B and C cafes in Bahrain and GCC. So the options came from, which is, started in 2015 in some coffee shops in Kuwait. And then it started from there, that different origins of coffees, starting doing new mixes, and then they are up in the market. And I think today there will be some survivors, and some of them will not going to fail. I'm not going to say fail. Hidayah will going to. There are some survivors that can, the consumer that he's trusting now, which is there is international cafes are already in the market. There is local brand. There is GCC brands. But the thing is, the competition is very high, as you said. And the consumer will decide who will going to be the survivor and who will going to be in the market for, let's say, long time and long period and very soon.
Do you think that these new coffee houses that are opening up, that are built locally here in the GCC, are they replacing traditional players or are they supplementing these players? Are they addressing the same kind of audience? Are people getting bored of the sort of the commercialized version and they want something more local and homegrown, or they're addressing a different market?
I think it needs more time. Our customers or these customers are totally different customers. They are not yet into the coffee itself, but the international cafe customers are there. But I think it needs another 2 years or 3 years to be a Dose or any other coffee brands that locally or GCC brands that addicted to, because it's a new recipes, it's a new concept, it's a new origin of coffees in the market. So it needs some time to get the customer to be trusted to.
Are you seeing that the appetite in the market is growing for coffee?
Yes.
Because I'm seeing even in the distribution chain, people are starting to bring coffee into.
Yeah. Today, I think the specialty coffees in Bahrain since 2016, as the number that we got it from Ministry of Industry, it started in June 2016, was 13 coffee shops of specialty coffee. Today there is 128 specialty coffees in Bahrain, which is it's getting
very fast growing.
Very fast growing, yeah.
Which brings me to Muhammad, you as a distributor and as somebody who's supplying the food, I would love first also to hear a little bit about the story of All Foods and what prompted you to get into that business. You know, a lot of people who are young like you, they think I want to open a restaurant. What made you say I want to be a food distributor? So I'm interested first in your story and what brought you to doing what you're doing.
I simply thought differently. That's the problem. We follow a certain trend. First, I would like to say Assalamu alaikum. I would like to thank everybody for having us here. Ma'al Sheikh Hisham, thank you so much for patronizing this event. And it's lovely to see such events in Bahrain.
Absolutely.
And it's a very good event to have and participating in. It's such an honor. First thing is, I come from a medical background. I studied medicine. And then I decided I just don't want to be a doctor.
I used to be a lawyer, so I know the feeling.
I thought I would not be the best doctor, to be honest. And I thought about a business which people would always buy from, which is food. And then the restaurants were opening. I mean, we follow a trend. This year, the specialty coffee business. Last year, it was the burger. The year before were the cupcakes. So I thought I will do something which all of them need me. And it turned to be all food. So I'm supplying, I started with vegetables and fruits. We took to the next level from cheese. We're distributing Unilever products. Anything you would buy for your restaurant personally, we would provide it to you.
And are you seeing certain areas or sectors within the restaurant industry that are fast growing? Because you have like the master list of you're able sort of to look at everybody and seeing who's ordering whose sectors right now. If you're a young entrepreneur and you're looking for interesting spaces, where are some of the areas that you're finding that are working well?
Look, not a specialist sector.
Okay.
Like I might say French cuisine is doing well, Japanese cuisine, but not really. It's all about the entrepreneur himself. When he starts his own business, if he does it the right way, if he's there not acting like a boss, definitely he will do well. Whatever the field is. You can open a burger place. There's tons of burger places open today. You can open a coffee shop. What made those today a good place? Sausan, her outlets, everybody knows My Cafe and Iris because they just give you something different and they maintain their quality. So it's not a certain sector or a certain type of food which is going to work or not. Yeah, there's always people looking for something new. But everybody can copy each other. We copy each other in Bahrain, unfortunately, and in the GCC in general. Like, how many specialty coffee opened after you? Tons. How many sandwich places open after
that's
you?
unavoidable. You know, there's always going to be that competition.
Exactly. It's all about how you maintain your business and you keep going.
So it brings me over to Hussein, actually. Speaking of starting a business, I know, Hussein, you're making trailers and food trucks for startup entrepreneurs. And you know, one of the things we're trying to do here this evening is give some insights to people who want to start a business in the food and beverage area. What do you think is the value of starting maybe with a food trailer or a truck in terms of getting your feet wet into the business? What are you seeing from those who are starting off with you?
First of all, thank you for your very long question. Thank you, the distinguished guests, for inviting me to this great event. Coming back to answering your question, what are the challenges to start your own food truck business?
Yeah, and also, what are the benefits of using a food truck business? Like, for example, it's an opportunity to try your ideas out versus jumping into a very expensive endeavor as a restaurant.
Okay. To begin with, the only thing which is constant today is change. The market is changing. Instead of the old trend, when the client comes to the business is going to the client. So when you put your business on mobile, you have direct access to the clients. That is one very much plus point. And plus, you've got people who are afraid to start their own business. They will test the waters with their ideas as a mobile truck
for these home businesses. They start on Instagram, the mobile kind of thing. They will go on the food trucks. And it's successful. We have almost 100 plus food trucks which are actually registered in Bahrain. We're going to see these surprises coming this food festival. And the upcoming season, we are really looking forward for it. And so the people who want to start their businesses, they have a great opportunity now to start that.
But I think one of the metrics maybe for judging the success of the trucks is one of them, how many of them have been converted into actual restaurants, or is the truck in and of itself a success? Can it be a success in its own right, or do they need to convert into restaurants eventually?
To begin with, they can convert it into restaurants, but because now it's becoming a trend, people try to cut costs and stay as mobile as possible and be available in areas where they can't be. I have got a couple examples of couple of clients which they have taken mobile trucks from me, and they are available in locations where they can't have access or there is no much places left. Very unique areas. And hopefully we are in the beginning. By the next upcoming years, we will find out the successful businesses which are going to become into established restaurants, fine dining, so on and so forth.
And speaking of established restaurants, I'm so glad to have you here, Sosan, on the panel. You have done one of the most beautiful and marvelous jobs of restaurants and lounges in Bahrain. And it doesn't feel like you were dipping your toes gently. It feels like you jumped in all in from the beginning.
Which I did, yes,
So
I did.
Please tell us a little bit about Mahonia and Iris and My Cafe, which you've built.
The only thing I can say it right now is like, when you take a hobby, you love something so much, and you turn it in a business, it always will work for you. This is what I did with My Cafe. I love food, I love art, I love people, and I love cooking, of course, which is food, not only eating it. I know how to cook as well. So I turned it to a very nice business, and then from there, I started jumping really fast. It looks for the people I was jumping fast, but there was a lot of agony and struggle and challenges behind it.
There's always a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that nobody sees.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think before you were an interior designer.
Yes.
And I'm interested, if you're a young entrepreneur today and you're thinking about opening a business and you might not be in the restaurant business, how did you overcome some of the challenges of managing operations, accounting, finance, some of the really nuts and bolts of the business that are essential to understand?
The secret is just to hire the right people, honestly. That's just to hire the right people. And that's a challenge by itself, till you reach to the right person that you have a charisma to work with.
I think before we got on stage, you were telling me about the importance of building your team.
Yes.
And
how to retain.
And how to retain your
How
team.
to retain the people. It's a strategy, You have to build this platform for your employees, You have to let them speak their minds. You have to be with them all the time. You have to give them incentive. You have to train them. Most of the employees that they leave their companies not because of their job. They leave because of poor management or poor supervision, So that's where I come in, and I was like, the people always say this business is about hiring and firing, which I don't like those negative quotes. It is, but in a way you can retain your people by giving a lot into it. Just they become like extended family, like a business family.
And over the time, are you finding that the retention rates are improving? Are you able to keep the staff?
You're talking about my business.
Yeah, because you're actually spending, and I would imagine in your line of work, you have to put an enormous amount of effort in training.
Which I do.
Yeah, because it's a very customer service dependent job and very high quality food that you're producing. And so the question becomes, and I don't want to only give the glamorous side of the restaurant business, I want to also get into the real back end side of it. What do you do when you bring somebody from abroad, or you've invested a lot of time and money, and I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs in our area, you spend all of that effort, and then after 1 year they have a legal right to be able to go somewhere else. How do you resolve for that? How do you address that issue?
See, this I will answer it in two parts. First part, if anyone that came to work with me, I train them. I embrace them to be part of my business, my family, and they come and tell me they want to leave, no matter what's the reason, I'll let them go. But the second part, it's like it's easy for them to leave, because if they go and complain to the LMRA or the labor, they will tell me they want to leave. They won't look at the full picture, how much I put training and how much I spent on them. Easily they will tell them, you can leave. First part I told you, if anyone come to me and tell me you want to leave, I will never work with anyone who does not want to work with us. You know, it's toxic to let someone who want to leave to work, put the whole mood down, the whole place will look wrong. But again, from the government side, they're not making it easy at all.
Perspective on it, because I want your perspective, because in Sosan's context, she has a fine dining restaurant, but in your context, you're actually scaling, and you have lots of locations and lots of places. It might not be as easy to build this, very tight-knit team where the owner's there all the time. You've actually gotten to a point where you have lots of big locations, maybe hundreds of staff. How do you maintain and retain your staff in your context?
I totally agree with Subsan about the regulatory part of LMRA or the local authorities. But for example, there's one of my staff, he came last week to the operation manager and he said to him, he's just 6 months here and he saw the targets and he saw the numbers and he's a barista. And then he said to the operation manager, if you're not going to increase my salary next month, I'm going to leave. That was 4 p.m. By 12:30 or by 11:30 evening p.m., he was at the airport. I said to him, thank you very much. Thank you for the great work and thank you for that. He took everything. He took his final salary. And I asked him, well, Assalamu. So, because if he was going to go the next morning to LMRA and he complained, with certain points and all of that, he will gonna move to another business. He will put me we were gonna struggle with the court. We're gonna struggle with procedures and all of that and local authorities. But it is the investment, as you said, as Susan said. It's a family. It's a team. You have to gather with them, you have to train them, you have to sit, you have to talk to them, they have to see the owner, they have to see the partners, you have to take their ideas, you have to listen to them and make it better and better, because they are dealing with your customers. It's not you in all branches. Today we have 3 branches, tomorrow by December we're going to have 8 branches in Bahrain, and we're lucky we're going to have 8 branches in Manama, which is they were going to see foreigners, they were going to see locals, so they are the first impression of your brand. So training, educating your staff about your products, educating about customer service. We have a monthly training session in each branch, which is this is the challenge, which is you need to take care of them. But again, this is where I think it needs another panel with the local authorities and talk about it, which is he can leave whenever he wants. This is what makes us sometimes careful about that. But in return, you have to take care of your staff to make it better and make it very productive. So if you want more productivity from your staff, you have to give him more, and you have to support him in his daily 8 hours during his attendance in the shop.
I think it was Richard Branson who said that you take care of your staff and your staff take care of your clients.
And it will take care of your business.
Yeah, that's correct. But at this, I think the frustration we have, all of us, because I have the similar dynamic, is we spend a lot of money and effort at the beginning to fly them into Bahrain, to train them, and very quickly they may have better options from an economic perspective, and you can quickly lose that benefit that you've invested in. And figuring out how we can be fair to the employee while at the same time protecting that investment, that balance is not an easy one.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Hassan, this leads me to you, which is, a lot of the people buying your vehicles or your trailers actually don't get visas. And so I'm interested, How are you seeing that play out? And today, if you're an entrepreneur thinking of getting a trailer and you already have a job or you're already working somewhere, how are you seeing your clients actually operate the trucks and the trailers that they're buying from you if they don't even get any visas?
Basically now, according to the current rules and regulations, if they want to have visas, they should open a running shop. And then they are going to get visas to operate in the truck. So basically their expense is double. The whole idea of the mobile truck is I don't need to open a shop. So with this whole lengthy process, I will open a shop, I will go to the branch number 2, and then afterwards I have another expense coming up on me. We are waiting for some new rules and regulations to be put on the trucks so that they can give us like visas and also better, easier options for us to hire even my clients so that they don't have to go through that lengthy process, you know what I mean? And we are looking at it, inshallah, in the next coming years.
What are some of the major pain points that you can speak of in terms of those who want to get into the food truck or the trailer business? What are they complaining to you about? What are the challenges that they are having? You know, because we often will hear the comparison to, they say, oh, their food truck industry is so much more developed. What are the things holding us back? And if you were to today to kind of share with us based on practical knowledge, because you're the one selling to them, what are the challenges or the knots that need to be untied?
There is, I can specify it into 3 main categories. Number 1, the lack of coordination between the respective legalized departments. The Ministry of Health, sometimes you need to go here, then afterwards they'll tell you, go back there, the Ministry of Civil Defense, then from Civil Defense you need to go back to the Ministry of Interior for the Traffic Directorate. So basically that coordination is kind of making people back out from the trailer. I'm getting it from last year's experience and this year's experience. That kind of makes it a little bit challenging. Point number 2 is that the trailers don't have specific locations so that they can actually do and carry out their business on a day-to-day basis. If there is a rule and regulation which can be kept, like for example, I need this specific location, I'm going to rent it out, even if it is in a very touristic area or in a very high active area, I would pay that amount and that's it. I can stand in that specific location. As far as our neighbors are concerned, there are certain rules and regulations, different business models where we can get, for example, in Dubai, the last exit, there are certain specific areas which are dedicated for these food trucks. So we are looking forward for a specific model to have it مصغر مثل ما يقولون بالعربي in Bahrain. Because in Bahrain we are always famous for reinventing the wheel. So we are going to come up with something exactly like that, even better. And the third part is we want to see more food trucks in Bahrain. More business for
more business for all food, for sure.
More business for all of us. I heard a point for my good friend here, 8 branches, but where is the food truck? No food truck? Yallah, we lost business.
So actually that brings me to the question of how does, today if we have people in the audience who are thinking to themselves, you know, I think I want to start a food truck or get into the food business, you know, we have here a lot of people who are knowledgeable about this industry. What are the kinds of questions they should be asking themselves? What are the kinds of things that are the right starting point questions for, is this a good idea for me to get started or not a good idea? Do you have some sense on that?
Well, yes, I have. Number 1, they should know what they want. And they should know why they want it. Because majority of the time I get these phone calls, I get these meetings. I want a food truck. Okay, what is your activity? What is your business? I don't know. What are your equipments? What is your business model? What is your workflow? What is your equipment? So on and so forth. I don't know. I just need a food truck. You know what I mean? So as long as you don't have that passion, because street food or food trucks is a culture. It's something that, you know, you have a direct communication between you and your clients on a daily basis. And basically with the current law in Bahrain, because it's improving the Bahrainization, it's mostly for the Bahraini people. That's why now there is no visas. It's motivating the young Bahraini youth to actually come up with their own talents, with their own ideas. So that is a very important point. Once they know what they want, they can expand from one food truck to the second, to the third, to the fourth. And slowly, slowly, we're going to have that food truck community.
Speaking of new ideas, Mohammed, I'm very interested to learn more about the things that All Foods is creating, not just importing and exporting. I had the privilege of actually tasting some of the phenomenal cheeses that you're now making, the burrata, and it was excellent. I'm a huge fan, and I'm seeing it everywhere in the restaurants. I would love to hear more from you on where do you see the future of that? How viable is it to build small plants or small kitchens that are producing foods here locally in Bahrain and that are distributing into your clients and not even just relying on the outside world?
First, I will get back to the point we're discussing with him about when somebody wants to open a restaurant or open anything in the F&B field. I didn't know personally the difference between onions and oranges, but I learned. I didn't know, I was importing cheese till I had an issue with the Ministry of Health at the airport. So I decided, why don't we actually manufacture them here? By that, we're supporting local farms, we are producing it locally, we're producing it fresh. Everybody here likes burrata and mozzarella, fresh ones, and it's like in every plate now. So, and we're selling it very expensive because the cost is very high to import it. We have to import it by air. The manufacturers in Italy are monopolizing it, so they get at a very high price. So we needed, I thought about it, why don't we just produce it here? And for anyone who wants to do anything, just take the first step. We need to produce more in Bahrain, other than just importing. We have a lot of great entities in Bahrain, like Tamkeen, EDB. We got a lot of support. We get free money, basically. But if you have a really good idea, first learn. If you want to open a restaurant, don't just sit and say, oh, I want to open this cuisine, I'm just going to hire a guy. If you go work in a restaurant for a month, yeah, it's not the wrong thing. Go get into a kitchen. Find somebody to educate you about this field. And then get into it. Most of the restaurants I see failing, actually, is because a guy just decides to get a chef from somewhere. He starts the business, and then the chef decides, and it works well for him at the beginning, and then he decides, and the chef decides to leave. He doesn't know how the menu works, how the costing work, how purchasing work, nothing. So he will find himself in front of a business he does not know anything about. The first thing in starting a new business comes when you have to learn and know what you want to do. And if I don't understand anything about technology, I hardly can use my computer. But if I want to get into a field of fintech or the blockchain, I will read about them. And I will find the right, earlier we were saying, hire the right people. Yes, we hire the right people, but as well learn from them. They should teach you. We have a saying in Arabic, "Atul khubz l-khabbaza," and let the baker make the bread. This is normal. You don't know how to cook. You didn't study culinary art or something. But later on, you have to know what you're talking about.
Could you touch a little bit more on what potential you see for manufacturing food here in Bahrain? We're seeing some of it in the hydroponic space, for example. Some of it is coming from food safety and being able to have some basics that we're producing here. What are some of the things, or what are the things that are exciting you about what we can make here in Bahrain? And if you can talk a little bit about the possibility of being able to export that into Saudi.
One of the speakers earlier mentioned that we are in an amazing location. Bahrain has an amazing location. I think it was you, right? Okay. We're close to Saudi. We have very good relations with Saudi, Inshallah Doom. So we can always export and import from there, and that's what we're doing. We're importing a lot. Saudis are manufacturing a lot of things. We have all the assets in Bahrain. We have incubators, we have accelerators, we have Everything, basically. Even with my factory now, the Temkeen has supported me. I think most of all our business is actually counting on Temkeen. Once I heard that an official said, it's free money, guys. Use it, but use it wisely. Starting a business is not easy. Taking the first step is the hardest step always. So I believe this is going to be, I thought about it, the margins when you're an importer is not as big as when you're a manufacturer.
Definitely not.
So the manufacturer back home or wherever they're producing, they're actually making the real money. Burrata is being sold in Bahrain on 12 kgs or 12 BD a kg minimum, up to 15 kg, 15 dinar a kg. So I'll be selling it on 8 kg. I'll be making a good margin out of it. I'm not going to mention it, but I think it's going to be cheaper and in a better price. So this is one of the things. We can start a full new field in Bahrain, a new business, which everybody who should think about manufacturing something.
Is there an opportunity into Saudi? And I bring that to your attention with the sort of the footnote of, it's always about the details. Like if I created something, whether it's a popcorn or it's a cheese or anything in Bahrain, as a young entrepreneur, the hard questions is, okay, I'd like to sell it into Saudi, but how do I get it through customs? How do I get certificate of origins? How do I need to pay taxes or not pay taxes?
Learn.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Just go to the customs on the bridge and ask them, what do you need from me? How to issue a certificate of origin? Go to Saudi. You cannot sell yourself. Find a distributor for yourself. Go to Riyadh. Like Saudi is not far. Riyadh is 4 hours away, and it's a huge market for us.
So you do believe that those are overcomable challenges?
Yeah, I didn't start production yet. I'll start next month, inshallah.
He might have a different story in a few months, but we'll see. Inshallah, it works out though.
But I actually started finding distributors in Saudi. They're willing to distribute my products. There's a lot of Italian restaurants who's looking for those products. I actually started thinking beyond that. I said, if I'm getting that much interest from Saudi, why don't open myself in Saudi?
Okay.
You got what I mean? So I think it will take a lot of time, and anybody who wants to copy this idea of producing cheese is really hard. You really have to go through a lot to get the machineries at least.
Fortunately, there's a lot of different kinds of cheeses.
Yeah.
Sosan, I'm interested in getting your perspective on building a brand and beautiful. Where did you get all of these things? Were you sourcing locally? Were you sourcing internationally? What were the challenges that you faced in making something that is so attractive? Well, actually, you can tell us on both fronts, both on the interior side and then from the food side, because your food is actually...
Don't forget your great suppliers.
From interior side, my cafe is like copy and paste from my house. You know, I wanted from day one to do something to invite people to my house, you know, so this is a bigger house. So interior copy and paste from my house. Supply, 80% of my products, I import them from outside Bahrain. It's doable, but we have to go through so many things as well. One of them, certificate of origin, that delay everything for us. And each time we have to get that certificate, we have to pay certain amount of money. Dealing with the custom, when they don't know the products coming to Bahrain. When I brought my Kobe beef from Japan, you know, I brought a full carcass, and the custom was here waiting to put it in the freezer, 370 kg. So I kept 2 guys waiting for it, so that carcass does not go to the freezer. Once it goes to the freezer, we cannot defrost it and cut it and chop it, you know? So they don't have an idea what's coming in. I wish if someone there knows about food or the product. When I get my fish from France, for example, they want to freeze them immediately. So you don't have to freeze them. We're going to vacuum them and chop. No, we have to freeze them. I don't understand why the people that they are in charge of food, they got zero idea about food. That's a huge challenge.
I think there's a lot of education certainly to be done. So, some of the challenges is that maybe Bahrain is also a small market. And so some...
Bahrain is a beautiful market. Yeah. It's not that small, by the way.
Okay. Well,
people are so exposed. They go out. They travel a lot. They know their food. They know what they're eating. You're talking about Bahraini, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely the sophistication of the palette is there.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. What are your plans for your businesses? Are these businesses that are, you know, your pet projects that you love here in Bahrain, or are they things that you actually think are Bahraini brands that can be exported out? I know Villa
No,
Mohammed
I'm
has
just
opened
concentrating on Bahrain, honestly.
out. Okay.
It's
And-
so much time consuming that I don't have time to take it anywhere else. Let me be strong in my country, then later on, maybe in 20 years, 10 years.
So as yeah.
I'm strong in front of you guys. You don't know what I'm doing
It's always
behind the scenes.
But
I want to to be really stable, you know?
Yeah, I think that's
You
wise.
pay me on time. This is the most important. You're strong and from our.
Thank you, guys.
You have your credibility coming from your supplier. I want to ask if you're a young person also trying to build a business, what thoughts do you have to share with them about the importance of customer service, the importance of having a culture that is very much driven by satisfying the customer needs and building that environment inside of your
I
restaurant?
think that come number one, before food. If you don't have customer service, you have nothing, zero. You have to have really strong base with your customer. You have to respond very quickly to their feedback. You have to listen what your customer want. Otherwise, why we are open? I'm talking about myself in my business, food business. I'm open for the customer. So customer service should come first.
How do you handle negative criticism? Because, you know, when you start a business, this business is your baby.
Yeah.
And, you know, you might feel very possessive about it. You might feel defensive about it. If there's somebody out there and they just started a business and they're getting negative feedback, what is the way you're digesting that negative feedback?
I just call them and listen to them, and because without their feedback, I won't grow. Deep down, I'm not okay about it, but I'm okay. I want to know.
When you have so much volume, it's inevitable that you're going to have some dissatisfied customers. Are you looking at dissatisfaction as a percentage? Are you trying? What is the way you are gauging whether you're getting better or worse?
We're getting a daily comment from, as I said at the beginning, the staff. We're going to translate this information, or we're going to transfer this information to you, where the management team of the operation and the managing director and the GM, they have to evaluate the comments that they get from the customers. And it is very challenging that you can satisfy all the customers. But the thing is how you gauge it, and what is the negative, what is the positive, and you take it there and you write it down and you document it and just keep it and gauge it for the upcoming 6 months, a year, just to make sure that that mistake or that problem or that negative comment doesn't come back, even with the same customer or with a new customer. So it's very important is behind the scenes, as Selsan said. Yes, you have to read and you have to document everything. Documentation in the startup business is very important. Your management team is very important also, to make sure that the day-to-day routine, you're not going to do everything. So you need a team that can support you, and you have to delegate. You have an operation, you have finance, you have a GM that can run the brands, you have a supervisor of each outlet. That makes the information easier to reach to you, to the management or to the higher level. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Bashara, as well is, you know, today in Bahrain, I see many, many restaurants opening up. And sometimes I think to myself, maybe it's fueled by the Tamkeen money that Mohammed mentioned. And there's a big incentive to start the business. But I asked myself the follow-up question of how many of those businesses are opening up second or third locations, like you guys have now gotten to the next level. Are we seeing a bubble of a lot of one-shop locations that are not serious players and not enough who are actually taking it to the next level, where it's not about reliance just on Tamkeen, it's a sound business model? What are your thoughts on that, as somebody who's now gotten it to that next level?
I got a phone call from one of the suppliers, and he said, he's loving on the phone, and he's saying, "Oh, you don't hear what happened today." I said to him, what's going on? He said, "Can I get the same setup of the bar counter of Do's Cafe? I'm opening a coffee shop in 2 months' time." So as you said at the beginning, they're copying, and they don't know how. Before we started in the coffee shops in Zallag, I went to Italy for De Rocci, for the roastery where they're roasting our beans from Colombia, from Italy, from Ethiopia, from Brazil, and we went there, and I just want to understand. When I started, I know nothing about coffee. So the educational part is very important. And then I went to France, and then I came back to Italy. I went to La Marzocco factory, and they said, "Are you supplier?" I said, "No, I'm a coffee shop." He said, "Okay, coffee shop, you're coming to La Marzocco, Florence, what you're doing?" I said, "I want to know how you built the La Marzocco machine." So we did the educational part of our business from the beginning for almost 8 months to 1 year. And then we came, and again, as Hamad said, Tamkeen is here. I think all at our startup business, please use Tamkeen, go and sit with them. They support, as Mohammed Baad said, it isn't free money, or it's there. Let's go and use it. And they're supporting they're not only giving money, they're supporting training. They have a lot of schemes that can support you. And again, back to your question, the survivors or the people that they're just there in the market to open a coffee shop, because the trend is coffee shop in 2018. This is a very good question. I think next year in the same event, let's ask the same question and see who's still in the market.
Hussein, I want to ask you, as somebody who's very much involved in new entrants into the market, I myself also have food trucks, and I wanted your perspective on the climate of Bahrain, not in terms of economics, but actually in terms of weather. One of the big challenges that we face is, keeping food hygienic and safe, and half the year it's extraordinarily hot. And so if you're in the food trailer business, how are you solving for those problems of where is your energy source coming from? How are you maintaining the coolness inside of that vehicle and maintaining the chiller temperatures at a safe number?
Well, basically, the insulation that we are using now currently, we have to use something like thicker than the normal thing, which is adding cost to the client, but it's in the long run, it is going to withstand the climate. And number two, you've got these equipments which are basically coming in already designed for these kind of things, for our temperature. The most important thing is that we need to put shades in these areas where these food trucks are going to be standing. And one business model is there in one of the neighboring countries that they have dedicated specific drive-throughs which has got shades for people to come. One thing to overcome this challenge is drive-throughs right next to the food trucks, because majority of the clients, they come and tell me, we want our windows to be in the same area of the cars. So when they pass by, they can purchase it with their cars. And as far as storage is concerned, the normal equipments are already designed for this area. It might be a bit pricey, but it does the job.
Okay. And I actually want to ask the restaurant owners, what are your thoughts on the number of new developments that are happening in Bahrain? I'm seeing, for example, in Adliya, where you're located, Sosan, an enormous number of structures and restaurants and villas being built for commercial purposes. Is this matching up to the foot traffic that is there? Are you seeing a disconnect between how many retail outlets are becoming available in your area?
I would say the more the merrier.
Okay. They're building an industry almost.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Why not?
And what is your strategy or thought process on how you're marketing yourself or positioning yourself in order to maintain your audience despite lots of other people opening up near you? What is the way you're maintaining your core?
Just to be consistent. It's a lot of work just to be consistent.
And Bishara, I'm interested in also in you in terms of becoming consistent. How are you maintaining consistency and building the systems required across many branches? It's one thing I know when I opened up my first branch, I practically lived there. It was easy to maintain consistency relatively. But when I ended up with 10 outlets, outlet number 3 has a problem, outlet number 7 has a problem. How are you getting to that next stage of building a competency around consistency?
It's, again, there is a separate department who's taking care of that, which is operation department, who's handling the day-to-day normal routines. And then making sure that the training sessions that we're getting every month or monthly or periodic training sessions, that makes the staff always up to the standard, up to the operation manual that we have. We've just opened a lovely training center in Water Garden City. There will be our branch and training center, and we will going to have very soon in December our roastery in Atrium Mall, which is in SAR. So we're having our training center in Water Garden City. We're having our roastery. Again, it's the training. It's the management team that handling the staffing and the operation, just to make sure that everything is, when you go to Zallag, it will be same in Avenues, it will be same in Water Garden City, it will be same in Atrium, it will be in all branches in Bahrain.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, thank you so much. We'll take a couple of quick questions from the floor because we don't have a lot of time. Anybody got any questions for our panelists this evening? All right, a lot of questions. Anybody have a mic to?
For me?
Is Noura in? Okay, go ahead, please.
Hi, I have a question. I think all of us, I have Chinese restaurant too. If we bring a staff overseas in a year, they have the right to resign, give us 1 month's notice. So I'm sure we all have this pain. And secondly, like Madam Sosan said, if he bring the food from overseas, the Ministry of Health, the inspector, is another pain. So I really suggest we have restaurant association or a group, whatever. We can be together and to deal our own problem. Anyway, so what do you think?
Well, I mean, me personally as a restaurant owner, I think it's a very good idea that there should be a restaurant association that is collecting information about what are their pain points and taking it to the Ministry of Industry of Commerce, taking it to the Chamber of Commerce to be able to present our cases in terms of what are the issues and needs that we're facing, so that it doesn't become one voice, one person just saying that I have this problem by myself. It ends up becoming an industry saying we have these issues. How can we balance them out with the needs of the government, with the needs of employees, so that there's a balance between all stakeholders in the equation?
Yeah, that's my suggestion. Yeah. I mean, that will be win-win for all of us. So
I think
what do you think?
Yeah. Other panelists, do you have thoughts on this? Yeah. I would be hard-pressed to find any restaurant owner who would be against this idea, because as an industry, a lot of us probably don't feel that we have enough representation of what are the pain points that we're having. Maybe there are certain rules or regulations that are being imposed, and we want to make sure that the implications of those are made clear to the policymakers. And I think it's a great idea for us to be able to give them meaningful insight, because at the end of the day, they're here to support us, and they're here to make policy that is hopefully in the interest of the industry to make the economy in Bahrain flourish. So if we don't give them a collective viewpoint about what are our pain points, it makes it harder for them to make the good decisions. Thank you for your question. Any next over there? Is anybody passing the mic? Okay.
Hi. I work in the real estate sector, and it's just an observation that some landlords are very hesitant to rent to new companies. They always ask, is it an established company? But when it's a new company with a new concept, they are always a little hesitant. And also they want to charge more. So how would you advise that a new startup handles this kind of problem?
Go ahead.
I've seen many restaurants opening, and they cannot afford the rent they're paying. First thing, don't let the real estate owners be greedy. Don't accept a very high rent. I'm sorry for anybody who owns real estate here. But this is the first thing. Don't try to open for a place. Location is important always. But if you're paying 5,000 dinar as a rent a month, and your sales is 5,000 dinar, there's no point of what you open. You'll be in loss. Just be realistic about your concept. If you're sure you're gonna do it, if you have enough money to run it over for a long time, then yes, go for such a rent. And I understand where the second part, I understand where the real estate, like the properties owner coming from. In the field, there's a problem now. People don't pay. Many businesses, they would fail to pay in a certain stage. And this is where they want guarantees, a proper company, a proper setup, a proper checkbook, proper checks, proper payment. So I don't blame them at the same time. We need kind of a solution for startups, a place where, like, I think the food festival is a very good idea, where people are presenting their ideas. And if it works and they are sure about it, they should take the risk and then start. But don't go for just a high rent because of the location. People might come to you in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I totally agree with Mohammed, and actually, somebody like Hussein might be your solution as a starting point. If you're finding that the locations you want are extraordinarily expensive or not willing to start with you, maybe proving yourself in a smaller context, whether at the food festivals or in a food truck context, might build your case for being more credible with the landlord.
That's a good marketing.
Yeah, and also to agree with Mohammed further, I think you need to look at very closely what are your sales going to be as a percentage, at trying to understand the comparison in a way that's sustainable for you. Next.
Hi, my name is Muad Bani. Thank you for this great event. Thank you for your thoughts and sharing this knowledge. My question in two parts. For all food, why until now there is no platform, an online platform to ease the process of the supply chain management in Bahrain? And mashallah, all food is very famous and strong supplier, one of the strongest suppliers in Bahrain. Second, the point about the employment and the employees and the 1 month notice, I think if more investment happen in the staff or the people who work for the restaurants and in the F&B hospitality sector, I think this would reduce the people getting resigning from their job. The competition, most of the restaurants and the owners of the food and beverages focus less in the investment of the staff and the customer service, which those also said that they invest highly in them, but some restaurants, they don't. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that you have more challenges in the staffing and the hiring. I would like to hear your thoughts on that part as well. Thank you.
First part, I will answer the second part first.
First part?
Yeah, the second part.
Okay, sure.
Okay. There's always a say, you have to invest to gain. If you're being cheaper with your staff and trying to find the cheapest solution, it's never going to work. If you are tight with your staff, it's about building a team and making them, how you make them feel like they're part. The biggest companies in the world, they have something called profit share. If you're doing well, there's no harm of sharing with your team. This is very important. Yes, there's always people who will leave you for a better offer, even if you offer them whatever. If you offer them higher, they will come back, we get a higher offer, and so on. And you cannot change this fact. But the whole point is building loyalty within your entity. There are people who would not leave you for $1 million. Oh, $1 million is too much, but people will not leave you for a higher offer. People will still stick to you because of how good you are, how considerate you are. Like, there's simple stuff you would do, and like a small gathering over dinner for your staff. You will build your loyalty from here. First part, I want you to repeat it again, your question. Why there's no platform for suppliers?
Were you leaning
Look, if I understood it
e-commerce?
right, I'll make it fast. The thing with restaurants here in Bahrain, they don't like to pay the minute they receive their products, which is causing us a problem with the VAT later on. So basically, we are supplying everywhere on credit terms, loan payment terms. It reaches 90 days and 120 days, even more. So in order to build such a platform, the customers has to pay on the spot, and nobody wants to do that. They consider you at some point. Sometimes suppliers feel that they are a non-profitable bank, like they are an organization where they lend the money to the customers, and they will roll it twice, and they'll bring you back when trying to get a discount after that. Why the bank will take an interest every time you delay the payment. This is I'm speaking about the perspective of a supplier.
Okay, one last question, the gentleman. I know you were waiting from the beginning, but